The Christmas Carol. A Juniper Falls Christmas Romance. Written by Susanne Ash. Please like and subscribe. Chapter 1. Lydia. The first snowfall of December dusted Juniper Falls in white, turning Main Street into something out of a storybook. From the tall windows of the library, the flakes drift past the old street lamps, each one catching the light before disappearing into the growing drifts below. "Are you humming again?" Grace Lawson's voice carries from somewhere behind the circulation desk, warm with amusement. My hand still on the garland I've been draping along the fiction shelves. Was I? Silent night. Third time this morning. Grace emerges from behind a tower of returned books, her dark hair pulled back in its usual neat braid, a smile playing at her lips. "If you hum it that often, it might just come true." Heat creeps up my neck. I hadn't even realized I was doing it. Music has a way of slipping out when I'm not paying attention. Humming while I shelled books and soft melodies while I catalog new arrivals. It's safer that way. Quiet. Private. No one watching, no one waiting for me to hit the wrong note. "Sorry," I murmur, adjusting a loop of evergreen that's gone crooked. "I'll try to keep it down." "Don't you dare." Grace climbs the small stepladder beside me, handing up another length of garland. It's one of my favorite things about December. The whole library smells like pine, and you provide the soundtrack. I duck my head, focusing on the garland. Grace is kind. She's been kind from the day I started working here, fresh out of library science school and desperate for a place where I could be useful without being seen. The library became exactly that. A refuge of quiet routines and familiar rhythms, where I can help people find their stories without having to tell my own. "How's that look?" I ask, stepping back to survey our work. Grace tilts her head, considering. "Perfect. Very symmetrical." "You say that like it's a bad thing." "It's very you." Her smile softens. Precise and thoughtful. Beautiful in a way people only notice if they're paying attention. The words settle somewhere in my chest, warm and uncomfortable at once. I'm not beautiful, not in the way people usually mean. I'm ordinary. Forgettable. The kind of person who blends into the background of town events, who's always pleasant but never memorable. And that's fine. "We should probably finish the children's section before story time," I say, gathering the remaining garland. Changing the subject is easier than accepting compliments I don't know how to hold. We work in comfortable silence for a while, the kind that comes from years of shared space and mutual understanding. Grace has that gift of knowing when to push and when to let things rest. It's probably what makes her such a good librarian. And such a good friend, though I sometimes wonder if I deserve that title when I keep so much of myself carefully tucked away. "Have you thought about the Christmas concert?" Grace asks as we wind garland around the picture book display. "The planning meeting's tonight." My hands fumble, nearly dropping the pine bough. "I wasn't planning to go." "Really?" Her tone is carefully neutral. "I thought you loved the town concert." "You never miss it." "I love attending." "That's different from." I trail off, unable to finish the sentence. "Different from participating." Different from standing up in front of everyone. Different from risking that moment when my voice might fail and all I'd be left with is the echo of my own inadequacy. Grace studies me for a long moment, the kind of look that sees too much. "You know, when Nathan first asked me out, I nearly said no." I blink at the sudden shift. Grace and Nathan's love story is legendary in Juniper Falls. The quiet librarian and the carpenter who renovated this very building, who literally carved stars into the ceiling of the reading nook as a gift for her. "Why would you say no?" "Because I was terrified." Grace secures the last bit of garland and climbs down from the stepladder. I'd spent so long hiding in books, living other people's adventures, that the thought of having my own felt impossible. What if I wasn't interesting enough? What if I disappointed him? "But you didn't." "No. But I wouldn't have known that if I'd let fear make the decision." Grace touches my arm gently. I'm not saying you have to go to the meeting. I'm just saying that sometimes the things that scare us most are the things we need most. Before I can respond, the front door opens with a gust of cold air and the jingle of bells. A family with 2 small children bursts in, the kids immediately drawn to the decorated children's section like moths to flame. Story time, the little girl asks hopefully, her eyes wide. Grace smiles. In about 20 minutes. Why don't you pick out some books while you wait? As the family disperses into the stacks, Grace turns back to me. The meeting's at 7 at the community center. You should come. Even if you just listen. Grace. Just think about it. She squeezes my hand once, then heads back to the circulation desk, leaving me alone with the garland and the weight of an invitation I don't know how to accept. The community center blazes with light against the early December darkness, warm and welcoming in a way that makes my stomach twist with anxiety. I almost turned around 3 times on the walk over, but Grace texted me twice, and somehow that feels like enough of a reason to keep going. You don't have to say anything. Just be there. Inside, the main meeting room has been set up with rows of folding chairs facing a small podium. Already a few dozen people have gathered. They are familiar faces from around town, bundled in winter coats and scarves, chatting over steaming cups of cider from the refreshment table. The scent of cinnamon and cloves fills the air, mixing with pine from the small Christmas tree someone set up in the corner. I slip into a seat near the back, trying to make myself small. Invisible. Lydia. Grace appears beside me, somehow managing to carry 2 cups of cider without spilling despite the crowd. You came. You were very persuasive. I accept the cider gratefully, wrapping my cold hands around the warm cup. I texted you twice. That's not persuasive, that's barely persistent. But she's smiling as she settles into the seat beside me. I'm glad you're here, though. The concert planning is always fun. Very low stakes, very festive. Low stakes. Right. I take a sip of cider and try to believe it. More people filter in. I recognize Tessa and Hale Fletcher from the general store, Sienna and Dylan from Highland Hollow, Belle Hartley with her fiancé Dorian. Belle catches my eye and smiles, the kind of smile that says I know what it's like to be nervous in crowds, and I smile back, grateful for the acknowledgement. And then Hazel Elliott sweeps in, silver hair perfectly coiffed despite the snow, her ever-present charm bracelet jingling as she moves to the front of the room. Where Hazel goes, things happen. Usually things people don't know they need until they're already happening. I shrink a little further into my seat. Good evening, everyone. Hazel's voice carries effortlessly over the chatter. Thank you for coming out on this snowy December night. We have much to discuss regarding our annual Christmas Eve concert, and I promise to keep this relatively brief. Relatively being the operative word. Gentle laughter ripples through the room. Hazel has that effect, somehow managing to be both authoritative and beloved, which seems like a contradiction but isn't. As you all know, our Christmas Eve concert is a cherished tradition. Hazel consults a clipboard, though I suspect she has everything memorized. We've held it for 37 years without fail, and this year will be no exception. However, we do have a small situation. A murmur goes through the crowd. Situations with Hazel can mean anything from a minor scheduling conflict to a complete reinvention of tradition. Margaret Birch, our wonderful choir director for the past 15 years, had a skiing accident last week in Vermont. Hazel's expression turns sympathetic. She's recovering well, but her ankle won't heal in time for her to lead rehearsals. Which means we need a replacement director. Temporarily, of course. The murmuring grows louder. Grace shifts beside me, and the energy in the room changes. A cold shiver runs down my spine. Now, I've given this considerable thought, Hazel continues, her gaze sweeping the room in that way she has, like she's cataloging every person's potential. We need someone who understands music. Someone patient and kind. Someone the community trusts. Someone who. Grace raises her hand. No. No, no, no. Yes, Grace? Hazel's smile can only be described as delighted. I'd like to nominate Lydia Harper. The words hang in the air like a note that won't resolve. Every head in the room turns toward the back, toward me, and I feel the blood drain from my face in a cold rush. Grace, I whisper urgently. What are you doing? Lydia Harper. Hazel beams as if this is the best news she's heard all year. Of course. Perfect choice. Lydia, dear, stand up so everyone can see you. I can't. But Grace is already pulling me to my feet, and suddenly dozens of eyes are on me, expectant and curious and completely oblivious to the panic coursing through my veins. Lydia grew up here, Hazel says, addressing the room like my biography is public record. Which, in a small town, it essentially is. She learned piano from her grandmother, has a beautiful voice, though she's far too modest to use it, and works with Grace at the library, which means she's already excellent at organizing chaos into order. Hazel, I really don't think, I try, but my voice comes out barely above a whisper, lost in the shuffle of murmured approval around me. All in favor? Hazel asks brightly. A forest of hands goes up. Enthusiastic hands. Eager hands. Hands that belong to people who have no idea what they're asking. Motion carried. Hazel claps her hands together. Lydia Harper, you are officially our Christmas Eve choir director. First rehearsal is Thursday evening at 7, here at the community center. We'll provide all the sheet music and a list of choir members. Oh, and I have my eye on Dr. Julian Pierce as accompanist. He's the new music teacher at the high school. Excellent pianist. You two will work beautifully together. The room erupts in applause. People turn to smile at me, to offer congratulations, to thank me for stepping up. Grace squeezes my hand with a smile that somehow manages to be both apologetic and encouraging at once. Guess you're officially in the spotlight now, she whispers. I manage a nod, my throat too tight for words. The spotlight. The very place I've spent years trying to avoid. The very thing that once made me freeze on a stage in front of my entire high school, unable to produce a single note while hundreds of people watched and waited and finally whispered. And now, somehow, I've been volunteered to stand in front of a choir. To be responsible for the most important musical event in Juniper Falls' calendar. The room feels too warm, too bright, too full of expectations I can't possibly meet. But everyone's still smiling at me, still trusting me, still believing I can do this. So I do what I always do when I don't know what else to do. I smile back and try not to think about all the ways I'm absolutely going to fail.
Chapter 2. Julian. The classroom smells like chalk dust and teenage ambition. It's a combination I've grown familiar with over the past 3 months, though it still feels foreign compared to the university lecture halls I left behind. I erased the last measure of Mozart from the whiteboard, careful to keep my back to the grand piano that sits in the corner like an accusation. Dr. Pierce? One of my students lingers by the door, a sophomore with braces and surprising talent on the clarinet. Are you going to play for us before winter break? Everyone says you used to perform concerts and everything. Used to. Past tense. A life that belongs to someone else now. I teach theory, Emma. Not performance. I keep my voice gentle despite the tightness in my chest. But I'd be happy to listen to your winter recital piece if you want feedback. She brightens at that, and I feel the familiar relief of deflection. Give them what they need without giving anything of myself. It's a balance I've perfected over the past 2 years. After she leaves, I gather my papers and deliberately avoid looking at the piano. Black lacquer gleaming in the afternoon light. It's a Yamaha, well-maintained, perfectly in tune. The music department chair mentioned it proudly during my interview. I haven't touched it once. The hallway outside is all chaos. Lockers slamming, teenage voices echoing off tile, the particular energy that comes with the last week before winter break. I navigate through it with practiced efficiency, nodding to colleagues, sidestepping clusters of students. Small-town high school teaching is different from university work. More personal. Less anonymous. I'm still not sure if that's better or worse. Dad! Ella's voice cuts through the noise, and I turn to see my daughter weaving through the crowd, violin case slung over her shoulder, her red scarf, the one Caroline knitted the winter before she died, trailing behind her. Wait up! I slow, letting her catch up. At 13, Ella's caught between childhood and something else, all gangly limbs and fierce opinions and her mother's smile. That smile still catches me off guard sometimes. A reminder of everything I've lost and everything I still have to protect. How is orchestra? I ask as we head toward the parking lot. Good. Mr. Stone says I should audition for regional next year. She adjusts her violin case, trying for casual and failing. He thinks I have a real shot. Pride and pain twist together in my chest. Of course she has a shot. She has Caroline's ear for music, her natural grace with melody. But I hear the question underneath Ella's words. The one she's been asking in different ways for months. Will you be there to watch? Will you be proud enough to show it? That's wonderful, sweetheart. We'll talk about it after the holidays. She nods, but something dims in her expression. I've disappointed her again without meaning to. Add it to the growing list. The December air hits us as we push through the doors, sharp and clean, smelling of snow and pine. Our car sits in the faculty lot, already dusted with fresh powder. I brush off the windshield while Ella climbs into the passenger seat, and for a moment everything feels almost normal. Almost like we're a regular father and daughter, heading home after a regular day. So, Ella says as I start the engine, her tone too carefully casual. Mrs. Elliot stopped by the school today. My hand's still on the steering wheel. Hazel Elliot? She was talking to Principal Morrison about the Christmas concert. Ella fidgets with her scarf. She mentioned they need a pianist. For the choir. I'm sure they'll find someone. Dad. She turns to face me fully now, and there's something in her expression that's too old for 13. Too knowing. She specifically asked about you. Of course she did. Hazel Elliot has a reputation in Juniper Falls. The woman is warm, meddling, and possibly well informed about everyone's business. She'd welcomed us to town with homemade cookies and questions I'd politely deflected. But Hazel doesn't deflect easily. I'm not interested, Ella. Why not? The question isn't defiant, just genuinely curious. Genuinely hurt. You used to love playing for people. Mom always said you could make a piano sing. The mention of Caroline makes my throat tight. I focus on backing out of the parking spot, on the practical movements of driving. That was different. How? Because every note reminds me of her voice. The last time I played was at her memorial service, and the keys felt like broken glass under my fingers. Music used to mean joy, and now it only means loss. It just is. Ella's quiet for a moment, staring out the window at the snow-covered streets of Juniper Falls. Small-town Christmas in full effect. Wreaths hang on every door. Lights are strung between lampposts. It's the kind of postcard charm that's supposed to be healing. I miss hearing you play, she says finally, soft enough that I could pretend not to hear. But I do hear. I always hear. I reach over and squeeze her hand once before returning my grip to the wheel. I know, sweetheart. Our house sits at the end of Maple Street, a modest two-story that came furnished and felt safe in its anonymity. Not the sprawling faculty housing we left behind in Raleigh. Not the home Caroline and I built together, filled with her laughter and music and life. A fresh start, the realtor had said. New memories. Except I'm not sure I want new memories. The old ones hurt, but at least they're mine. Ella disappears upstairs to practice while I start dinner, moving through the familiar routine. Chop vegetables. Set water to boil. Try not to think about how Caroline used to sing while she cooked, how she'd dance around the kitchen and pull me into impromptu waltzes between stirring pots. I'm draining pasta when the doorbell rings. For a moment, I consider not answering. But then Ella's voice floats down the stairs. I'll get it. The door opens, and there's a familiar jingle of a charm bracelet. Ella, dear. How lovely to see you. Is your father home? Hazel Elliott. Of course. I set down the colander and head to the entryway, where Hazel stands on our doorstep like a determined sprite, holding 2 thermoses and wearing a smile that suggests she already knows she's won whatever negotiation is about to happen. Dr. Pierce. She greets me with the same warmth she might use on an old friend instead of someone she's met exactly 3 times. I hope I'm not interrupting dinner. We were just wonderful. I brought cocoa. The good kind, with real cream and a touch of cinnamon. She's already moving past me into the house, and Ella's grinning like Christmas came early. Ella, sweetheart, would you mind terribly finding us some mugs? I need to have a quick chat with your father. Ella practically skips toward the kitchen. Traitor. Hazel settles herself on our couch like she's been invited, setting the thermoses on the coffee table with a definitive clink. I'll get straight to the point, Julian. May I call you Julian? I nod. Julian it is. Her smile doesn't waver. We need a pianist for the Christmas choir. Specifically, we need you. I appreciate the offer, but I'm afraid I can't. Margaret Birch, our usual director, is recovering from a skiing injury. We've found a replacement director, bless her heart, but she's nervous as a rabbit and could use someone steady at the piano. Someone with real training and experience. Hazel leans forward slightly. Someone like you. There must be other pianists in town. None with a doctorate in music composition from Duke. None who performed in Carnegie Hall. None who understand what it means to lead through accompaniment. She pauses, letting that sink in. And none who need this quite as much as you do. The words land sharp and true, and I feel my defenses rise. I don't. I'm sure your daughter would love hearing you play. Hazel's voice softens, loses some of its calculated charm. I saw her face when she mentioned the choir earlier. That child is carrying more worry than any 13-year-old should have to carry. That's not fair. But even as I say it, I know she's right. I see it in Ella's careful questions, her 2 bright smiles, the way she watches me like I might break if she's not vigilant. No, it's not. Grief rarely is. Hazel reaches for her purse and pulls out a folded flyer. I'm not asking you to perform a solo concert, Julian. I'm asking you to sit at a piano for an hour each week and help a group of well-meaning amateurs sing some Christmas carols. Ella appears with 3 mugs, her eyes bright with hope. She sets them down carefully and pours cocoa for each of us, the scent of cinnamon filling the room. When she hands me my mug, her fingers brush mine, and I feel the weight of her unspoken plea. Please, Dad. Please try. Hazel takes a delicate sip of her cocoa, watching me over the rim of her mug. The first rehearsal is Thursday evening. 7 o'clock at the community center. You don't have to commit to the whole season. Come to 1 rehearsal. See how it feels. Dad. Ella's voice is quiet. It's just carols. Just carols. As if anything involving music could ever be just anything. But then I look at my daughter and see the careful hope in her expression. The same hope I keep disappointing without meaning to. And I think about these past 2 years of silence, of avoiding the piano like it might burn me, of choosing numbness over the risk of feeling anything at all. Maybe Hazel's right. 1 rehearsal, I hear myself say. That's all I'm promising. Hazel's smile could light the entire town. That's all I'm asking. She finishes her cocoa with satisfaction and rises, leaving the flyer on our coffee table like a contract I've just signed. Thursday at 7. The director's name is Lydia Harper. She's a lovely young woman who works at the library. A bit shy, but musical. I think you 2 will work well together. After she leaves, Ella throws her arms around me in a hug that squeezes something loose in my chest. Thank you, she whispers against my shoulder. It's just 1 rehearsal. I know. But it's something. After dinner, after Ella's gone to bed, I sit at the kitchen table with the flyer Hazel left behind. Simple design, festive fonts. Juniper Falls Christmas Choir. First rehearsal, Thursday, December 7th, 7 p.m. Community Center. Director, Lydia Harper. Accompanist, Dr. Julian Pierce. Lydia Harper. The name sits in my mind like a half-remembered melody. I don't think we've met, but something about it feels familiar anyway. Like a note I've heard before but can't quite place. I trace the letters with my finger, this stranger's name next to mine on a flyer for a Christmas concert I never wanted to be part of. Thursday. 2 days away. 2 days to prepare myself to sit at a piano again.
Chapter 3. Lydia. Thursday arrives too quickly and not quickly enough. I spend the entire day at the library in a state of low-grade panic, reorganizing the periodicals section twice and accidentally shelving an entire cart of returns in the wrong section. Grace finds me in the stacks at 4 o'clock, staring blankly at a biography of Beethoven like it might contain answers to questions I don't know how to ask. "You could still back out," she says gently. "And disappoint everyone?" I shake my head. Hazel dropped off the sheet music this morning with 2 thermoses of hot cocoa and a 20-minute pep talk that somehow covered everything from the history of Christmas carols to her theory that music heals broken hearts. I slide the Beethoven biography back onto the shelf, finally in the right spot. I'm not sure if I feel more or less prepared. "For what it's worth, I think you'll be wonderful." Grace squeezes my shoulder. "You know more about music than you give yourself credit for. And you're patient. That's half the battle with community choirs." I want to believe her. I've been trying to believe her all day. But every time I close my eyes, I'm 17 again, standing on the high school auditorium stage with the opening notes of Ave Maria dying in my throat while 200 people wait for me to sing. The memory tastes like failure. I should go home and change, I say, checking my watch. Rehearsal starts at 7. "I'll see you there." Grace squeezes my shoulder. "We'll get through this together. And if it's a complete disaster, at least we'll have each other to laugh about it with afterward." That's supposed to be comforting? It's the best I've got. But her smile is warm, and somehow it does help. A little. The community center's main hall smells like lemon polish and anticipation. Someone set up folding chairs in 3 neat rows facing a small raised platform where a music stand waits like a sentencing block. In the corner, a beautiful upright piano gleams under the fluorescent lights. And sitting at that piano, studying sheet music with the focused intensity of someone taking an exam, is a man I've never seen before. He must be Dr. Pierce. My first thought is that he looks like he belongs in a classical music documentary. All refined angles and careful composure, wearing a navy sweater over a crisp white shirt, dark hair touched with silver at the temples. His hands rest on the keys without pressing them, long fingers that look born to make music. My second thought is that he looks deeply uncomfortable, like he'd rather be anywhere else. "Lydia." Hazel materializes beside me, her charm bracelet announcing her presence. Perfect timing. "Come meet your accompanist." She guides me toward the piano with the gentle insistence of someone herding reluctant sheep. "Julian, this is Lydia Harper, your new director." Lydia, Dr. Julian Pierce. He teaches music at the high school and has far too many impressive credentials to list, though I assure you he's collected them all. Dr. Pierce rises from the piano bench with the fluid grace of long practice. Up close, I notice his eyes are a deep blue-gray, like storm clouds, and they study me with an intensity that makes me want to check if I have something on my face. "Ms. Harper." His voice is measured, cultured. The kind of voice that probably sounds at home in university lecture halls. "I understand this is your first time directing." It's not quite a question, but it feels like one anyway. Like he's already cataloging my inadequacies. "Yes, I manage. But I've been singing since I was a child, and my grandmother taught me piano, and I've attended the Christmas concert every year for the past decade, so I'm familiar with the repertoire and the town's expectations, though I realize that's not quite the same as formal training." Lydia tends to be modest, Hazel interrupts smoothly, saving me from my own rambling. She has a beautiful voice and a gift for bringing out the best in people. Which is exactly what this choir needs. Julian's expression doesn't change, but something flickers in his eyes. Assessment, maybe. Or doubt. I look forward to working with you. The words are perfectly polite and completely impersonal. Like he's reading from a script. Before I can respond, the door opens and choir members start filtering in. They're laughing, chatting, shaking snow from their coats, completely at ease in a way I envy desperately. You should probably get started, Hazel suggests, her eyes twinkling with what looks suspiciously like mischief. I'll just sit back here with Grace and observe. Observe. Right. Because having an audience for my inevitable failure will definitely help. I move to the front of the room on legs that feel disconnected from my body, clutching my folder of sheet music like a shield. The conversations taper off as people notice me standing there, settling into their seats with expectant smiles. Deep breath. You can do this. Hi everyone, I start, and my voice comes out too soft. I clear my throat and try again. Hi. I'm Lydia Harper, and I'll be directing the choir this year while Margaret recovers. I know I'm not Margaret, and I don't have her experience, but I promise to do my best to make this a good concert. We're so glad you're here, dear, Mrs. Patterson calls out. We know you'll be wonderful. The support should be encouraging. Instead, it feels like pressure settling on my shoulders. So, I thought we'd start with "O Come, All Ye Faithful," I continue, fumbling with my music folder. Several pages slide out and flutter to the floor. I crouch to gather them, face burning. It's a classic, and Margaret's notes say you already know it well, so it should be a good warm-up. Actually, Julian's voice cuts through from the piano, polite but firm. We should start with vocal warm-ups. Scales, breathing exercises. Standard protocol for any rehearsal. I straighten, papers clutched in my hands. Oh. Right. Of course. Unless you had specific warm-ups prepared? I didn't. I hadn't even thought about warm-ups. Margaret's notes mention starting with "O Come, All Ye Faithful" and working through the set list, but nothing about preparation. I thought we could just ease into it, I say weakly. Something that might be disapproval crosses Julian's face. Warming up properly prevents strain and improves sound quality. It's foundational. Then we'll warm up. I turn back to the choir, whose expectant expressions have shifted to something more uncertain. Dr. Pierce will lead us through some exercises. I'm the accompanist, not the vocal coach. His tone remains perfectly even, but I hear the correction underneath. The reminder that we each have our roles. You should lead them. I'll follow. Except I don't know what exercises to do. Nana Nell used to make me sing scales when I was young, but that was years ago, and I can't remember the proper sequence, and everyone's watching, waiting for me to prove I know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing. Maybe we could just start with some humming? I suggest. To loosen up? Julian's pause speaks volumes. But he nods once, precisely, and turns to the piano. What follows is the longest hour of my life. The choir tries, they really do try, but my instructions are vague and uncertain, and Julian's accompaniment is technically perfect but somehow too perfect, each note precise and measured and completely disconnected from the warmth the songs are supposed to carry. When I suggest trying "O Come, All Ye Faithful" again, starting from the bridge because the timing felt off, he stops playing mid-phrase. The timing was fine. The issue is breath support in the soprano section. I thought if we need to address the technical problems, not simply repeat the same mistakes. He's right. I know he's right. But the way he says it makes me feel small, incompetent. Like I'm wasting everyone's time, including his. By 7:45, we've barely made it through 2 complete songs. The alto section is confused about their entrance in Silent Night, the tenors keep speeding up during "Joy to the World," and I've lost track of how many times I've apologized for unclear directions. Perhaps we should call it for tonight, Julian says, his hands resting motionless on the keys. It's not a suggestion. Give everyone time to review the music at home. Translation: give me time to figure out what I'm doing. Yes. Good idea. I turned to the choir, forcing a smile. Thank you all so much for your patience tonight. Next week we'll be more organized, I promise. Please do look over the music, and we'll pick up with Joy to the World on Tuesday. The choir members gather their things with polite murmurs, most of them offering encouraging words as they file out. It's just first night jitters. You'll find your rhythm. We're so grateful you stepped up. Each kindness feels like another weight. Grace waits for me by the door, her expression sympathetic. First rehearsals are always rough. That was a disaster. That was a learning experience. She links her arm through mine. And you survived it. That counts for something. I glance back toward the piano, where Julian is methodically gathering his sheet music, his movements as precise and controlled as his playing. He hasn't looked at me since he suggested ending early. I don't think Dr. Pierce has much confidence in me, I say quietly. Then you'll prove him wrong. Grace squeezes my arm. Come on. Let's get you home. My apartment is small but mine. A one-bedroom above the bookstore on Main Street, with sloped ceilings and a window that looks out over the Christmas lights strung across the street. I make tea I don't drink and sit at my small kitchen table, Margaret's folder of sheet music spread out in front of me like evidence of my inadequacy. I should resign. Send Hazel an email tonight, apologize profusely, suggest they find someone who actually knows what they're doing. Someone Dr. Julian Pierce won't look at with that carefully neutral expression that somehow communicates profound disappointment. My phone buzzes. A text from Nana Nell. How did it go, sweetheart? I stare at it for a long moment before typing back, it was fine. Just first night nerves. The lie sits badly, but I can't bring myself to tell her the truth. That I froze and fumbled. That I proved exactly what I've always feared. Stepping into the spotlight only reveals how little I have to offer. I'm about to close the music folder when I notice something. A slip of paper, tucked between the sheets for Silent Night. Plain white, folded once. My hand shakes slightly as I unfold it. The handwriting is precise, each letter carefully formed in black ink. You have a gift for harmony. Don't hide it. I read it 3 times, my throat tight. There's no signature. No indication of who wrote it or when they slipped it into my folder. But the handwriting is elegant. Dr. Pierce? It seems impossible. He spent the entire rehearsal correcting me, his face a mask of professional patience that barely concealed his frustration. Why would he leave an encouraging note? Unless I'm wrong. I smooth the note against the table, tracing the words with my finger. You have a gift for harmony. I want desperately to believe it. To think that maybe, despite the disaster of tonight, someone saw something worth encouraging. Something worth saving. I tuck the note carefully into my wallet, right behind my library card, where I can find it when I need the reminder. Then I close the music folder and make myself a promise. One more rehearsal. I'll try one more time. And if it's another disaster, then I'll resign. But I won't give up after a single night, no matter how tempting it is to retreat back into the safety of my carefully quiet life. Outside my window, snow begins to fall again, soft and silent, covering the town in white. Somewhere out there, Dr. Julian Pierce is probably relieved the first rehearsal is over. Probably wondering how he got stuck with an amateur director who doesn't know basic warm-up protocols.
Chapter 4. Julian. The second rehearsal goes marginally better than the first, which isn't saying much. Lydia's still hesitant, still apologizing too often, but at least this time she started with warm-ups. They are the simple scales I walked her through before the choir arrived. She'd shown up 20 minutes early, clutching a library book about choral conducting like it might contain all the answers, her eyes shadowed with what looked like poor sleep. I looked up proper warm-up sequences, she'd said quietly, showing me a page she'd bookmarked. Does this seem right? Something about the earnestness in her question caught me off guard. She's trying. Desperately, obviously trying. That's a good start, I told her. We can work with that. Now, an hour and a half later, we've made it through 4 songs with only minor derailments. The choir's starting to find their footing, and Lydia's instructions are clearer, more confident. Still too apologetic, but there's potential underneath the uncertainty. When she cuts off "Hark! The herald angels sing" in the middle of the second verse to correct the tenor entrance, I catch myself nodding approval before I can stop it. "Let's end there for tonight," Lydia says as 8 o'clock approaches. "Great work, everyone. Really. You're sounding wonderful." The choir members gather their coats and music, chatting as they filter toward the exit. Grace Lawson pauses beside Lydia, squeezing her arm with a smile before leaving. I'm gathering my own sheet music when I hear the telltale jingle of Hazel Elliott's charm bracelet. Of course. Wonderful improvement. Hazel appears between Lydia and me like she's been waiting for exactly this moment. Which she probably has. I could hear the difference from last week. You're both finding your groove. Thank you, Lydia murmurs, though she doesn't look convinced. However, Hazel continues, in that tone that means she's about to meddle, I couldn't help but notice you two are still a bit disconnected. Timing-wise, I mean. The accompaniment is beautiful, Julian, and Lydia's direction is improving, but you're not quite in sync yet. I start to protest that synchronization takes time, that we've had exactly 2 rehearsals, but Hazel's already moving forward like a force of nature. What you need is some time together. Just the 2 of you, working through the arrangements without the pressure of the full choir watching. She gestures to the now empty community center, the piano waiting silently in the corner. In fact, why don't you stay for an hour now? Everyone's gone, you've got the space, and the piano's already here. No need to schedule another time. Lydia looks like she'd rather do almost anything else. Oh, I don't want to impose on Dr. Pierce's evening. Julian, I correct automatically, then wonder why I bothered. Except Dr. Pierce creates distance, and Hazel's right about one thing, we do need to find our rhythm. And it's not an imposition. An hour could be useful. Lydia's eyes widen slightly, surprise flickering across her face. She probably expected me to make an excuse. Honestly, I expected myself to do it. Perfect. Hazel's already heading toward the door, pulling on her coat. I'll lock up when I leave, but you two know where the key goes when you're finished. Take your time. Work out the kinks. She pauses at the door, her smile knowing. Sometimes the best music happens when you're not performing for anyone but each other. And then she's gone, leaving us alone in the sudden silence of the empty community center. Lydia stands frozen by the music stand, clutching her folder like a shield. I'm still at the piano, my hands resting on the closed lid. We don't have to, she says quietly. If you'd rather go home. You have a daughter to get back to. Ella's at a friend's house until 9. The words come out more abrupt than I intend. And Hazel's right. We should work through the timing issues. Oh. She hesitates, then slowly makes her way to the piano. Okay. What should we start with? I open the lid, running my fingers lightly over the keys without pressing them. The piano's well maintained, better than I expected for a community center. Not the Steinway grand I used to play, but good enough. More than good enough. Silent night, I say. The transitions are giving the altos trouble, but I think it's because we're not breathing together. We? You and me. Director and accompanist. If I'm watching the music instead of watching you, I miss your cues. If you're focused on the choir instead of listening to the accompaniment, we drift apart. I gesture to the bench. Sit. Let's work through it together. She blinks, and I realize what I'm asking. The piano bench isn't large. We'd be sitting close. Closer than we've been during rehearsals when she stands at the front and I'm separate, distant, safe. But she nods and settles onto the bench beside me, leaving a careful few inches of space between us. She smells faintly of something warm and sweet, vanilla, maybe, or honey. Books and comfort. I push the thought away and set the sheet music on the stand. Okay, I say. Let's start from the top. You conduct, I'll follow. But this time, I want you to sing the soprano line while you direct. Let me hear how you're interpreting the phrasing. Sing? Her voice climbs slightly. I don't. You don't have to perform. Just sing through it so I understand your vision. I keep my tone even, professional. You can't ask the choir to be vulnerable if you're not willing to be vulnerable yourself. The words land harder than I intended. She goes very still beside me, and I realize I've touched something raw. But after a moment, she nods, once, and straightens her shoulders. From the top? From the top. I play the opening measures, soft and slow, and wait. For a moment, I think she won't do it. Think she'll freeze the way she froze during that first disastrous rehearsal. But then she starts to sing. Her voice is quiet at first, tentative, but it's there. The woman has a clear, gentle soprano that carries the melody like it's something precious. Not technically trained, not polished or powerful, but honest. Real. The kind of voice that doesn't demand attention but deserves it anyway. I almost forget to keep playing. She makes it through the first verse, her hands moving slightly as if conducting an invisible choir, and I adjust my playing to match her phrasing. Breathing where she breathes, swelling where her voice lifts. By the second verse, something's shifted. We're not two separate musicians anymore. We're listening to each other, responding, finding the spaces where the melody and accompaniment interweave. She stumbles on a high note in the third verse, her voice faltering, and without thinking I cover her right hand with mine where it rests on the edge of the piano, gently guiding it to the correct keys as if her hand were the one playing. We both freeze. Her hand is warm under mine, small and ink-stained. They are librarian's hands, always marking and touching books. My fingers dwarf hers, and I'm suddenly, acutely aware of how close we're sitting. Close enough that I can see the faint freckles across her nose, the way her hazel eyes have gone wide with surprise. Close enough to feel the catch in her breath. I should move my hand. Should pull back, apologize, maintain the professional distance I've been so careful to keep. But for a heartbeat, I can't make myself let go. Her hand feels like an anchor, something solid and real in a world that's been untethered for too long. Sorry, she whispers, though I'm not sure what she's apologizing for. I missed the chord. You didn't. My voice comes out rougher than I intend. You hesitated. That's different. Is it? Yes. I force myself to lift my hand away, immediately missing the warmth. Missing means you didn't know. Hesitating means you doubted yourself. She stares down at the keys, her cheeks flushed pink. I do that a lot. I've noticed. The words hang between us, and I realize how they sound, like I've been watching her. Paying attention. Which I have been, but not in the way a colleague should. More in the way a man notices a woman who makes him feel things he thought he'd locked away for good. Dangerous territory. We should finish the song, I say, reaching for professional distance again. From the third verse. She nods, not meeting my eyes, and we start again. This time, when she sings, I watch her instead of the music. Watch the way her expression softens during the gentle phrases, the way her shoulders relax when she stops thinking so hard about getting it right. Watch the way the overhead lights catch in her light brown hair, turning it honey gold. When we reach the final notes, she holds them with a confidence that wasn't there before, and I let the accompaniment fade beneath her voice until it's just her, suspended in the quiet of the empty community center. The last note fades into silence. Neither of us moves. That was. She trails off, still not looking at me. Better, I finish. That was much better. We were in sync. We were. And something else, too. Something I don't have words for. She turns to face me, and there's a question in her eyes that I'm not ready to answer. That I'm not sure I even understand. Should we try another one? She asks softly. I should say no. Should suggest we call it a night, maintain the boundaries that are already feeling dangerously thin. But I hear myself say, yes. Oh, holy night. It's the most challenging arrangement, and we need to make sure the dynamics work. We work through 3 more carols, and with each one, the space between us seems to shrink. Not physically, we're still sitting a careful few inches apart, but in every other way that matters. I start to anticipate her breathing, the places where she'll naturally slow or speed up. She begins to trust my playing, to lean into the accompaniment instead of fighting against it. By the time we finish Joy to the World, it's nearly 9 o'clock, and we've been sitting at this piano for almost an hour. My fingers ache in a way they haven't in 2 years. The good ache of making music instead of avoiding it. I should go, Lydia says, but she doesn't move. Ella's probably waiting for you. I'm picking her up in a little while. I close the lid over the keys, careful and deliberate. We have time. For what? For this. For sitting beside someone who makes music feel less like grief and more like possibility. For remembering what it's like to play something other than the soundtrack to loss. But I can't say any of that, so I say, for you to tell me why you stopped singing. Her eyes snap to mine, startled. What? You have training. Not formal, maybe, but someone taught you properly. You know breath support, phrasing, dynamics. But you direct like someone who's afraid to be heard. I keep my voice gentle, genuinely curious rather than accusatory. What happened? For a long moment, she doesn't answer. Just stares down at her hands, folded in her lap. High school, she finally says. I had a solo in the spring concert. Ave Maria. I'd practiced for months, and my grandmother was so proud, and everyone kept saying how beautiful it would be. She takes a shaky breath. I got on stage, and I froze. Couldn't make a sound. I stood there in front of everyone while the pianist kept playing the introduction over and over, waiting for me to start. And I just couldn't. The memory is clearly painful, written in every line of her body. I know that kind of pain. The moment when everything you've prepared for collapses and you're left exposed in front of everyone who believed in you. Eventually, the choir director came up and led me off stage. Everyone pretended it didn't happen, but I knew. They all knew. She looks up at me, her eyes bright with old shame. I haven't sung in public since. Not really. But you sang tonight. That's different. It was just you. Just me. As if that makes it less brave. As if being vulnerable with one person isn't harder, in some ways, than performing for a crowd. You have a gift for harmony, I tell her, and watch her eyes widen. Don't hide it. Surprise flickers across her face. That was you. The note in my folder. I don't confirm or deny it. Just hold her gaze. Why? She asks softly. Because it's true, I say instead. We sit there in the silence of the empty community center, the piano quiet between us, and something shifts. Some wall I've been carefully maintaining starts to crack, just a little. We should lock up, Lydia says eventually, but her voice is warmer now. Less guarded. We should. Neither of us moves. Finally, I stand and offer her my hand to help her up from the bench. She takes it, her fingers curling around mine, and for the second time tonight I feel that spark of connection, the one that has nothing to do with music and everything to do with the woman looking up at me with something like trust in her eyes. Same time next week? I ask. The rehearsal's Tuesday. I meant this. Just us. Working through the arrangements. The words come out before I can second guess them. If you'd like. Her smile starts slow and uncertain but grows into something genuine. I'd like that. We lock up the community center together, and I walk her to her car, an old Subaru covered in a fresh layer of snow. I brush off her windshield while she starts the engine, and when I hand her the scraper, our fingers touch again. Thank you, she says. For tonight. For the note. For not giving up on me even when I'm clearly terrible at this. You're not terrible. You're learning. There's a difference. Is there? She echoes my words from earlier with a small smile. Yes. I watch her drive away, her taillights disappearing into the snowy December night, and realize I'm humming. Just softly, under my breath, but humming nonetheless. Silent Night. The song we practiced together. The song that made me touch her hand, made me remember what it feels like to make music with someone instead of alone in the silence of my grief. I pull out my phone to text Ella that I'm on my way, and notice my reflection in the darkened window of the community center. I'm smiling. I can't remember the last time I smiled after playing piano.
Chapter 5. Lydia. The weather turns gray and heavy on Saturday, the kind of December gloom that makes the whole town feel muted. I'm restocking the biography section when Grace finds me, staring out the library windows at the colorless sky. "You're thinking too hard," she observes. "I can tell because you've been shelving the same 3 books for the past 10 minutes. I look down at the books in my hands. They are all biographies of musicians, which feels a bit on the nose. Sorry. I was just thinking how the town feels so subdued today. Everyone who's come in has seemed a little down. It's the weather. Mid-December doldrums. Grace leans against the shelf beside me. Why? What are you plotting? I'm not plotting. You have that look. The one you get when you're about to reorganize an entire section or create some elaborate themed display. I set the books down, an idea crystallizing. What if we did a carol sing-along? Nothing formal, just outside the library. Today. This afternoon. Something to remind people it's still Christmas, even if the sky forgot. Grace's face lights up. That's perfect. Spontaneous community joy. Very you. Is it too last minute? Would anyone even come? Lydia. This is Juniper Falls. If we put out hot cocoa and promise Christmas carols, half the town will show up. She's already pulling out her phone. I'll text the usual suspects. You gather some song sheets. We can set up on the front steps. They're wide enough, and the awning will keep the snow off if it starts up again. 2 hours later, we've transformed the library entrance into something that looks almost magical. Grace strung battery-operated lights along the iron railings. I printed simple carol sheets on festive paper, and somehow Nathan appeared with a folding table and 3 thermoses of hot cocoa that smell like cinnamon and peppermint. Grace called in reinforcements, he explains with a grin, kissing his wife's cheek. I'm on cocoa duty. People start arriving around 3 o'clock, bundled in coats and scarves, drawn by curiosity and the promise of warmth. I recognize faces from the choir, from story time, from years of helping people find the right book at the right time. Mrs. Patterson waves from across the small gathering crowd. Belle and Dorian arrive hand in hand, Belle's eyes bright with encouragement when she catches my gaze. My stomach twists with familiar anxiety. This was my idea, which means I have to lead it. Have to stand in front of everyone and start the singing. You've got this, Grace murmurs beside me, handing me a stack of carol sheets. Just like Tuesday's rehearsal. You were confident then. Tuesday's rehearsal had gone much better. The choir actually sounded like a choir, and I'd only apologized 3 times instead of my usual dozen. And Thursday's private session with Julian. I push that thought away before my cheeks can betray me. Thursday had been different. Quieter. Just the 2 of us working through arrangements, his patient corrections, the way he'd smiled when I'd finally nailed the dynamics on Oh Holy Night. You're thinking about Dr. Pierce, Grace says knowingly. I am not. You're blushing. It's cold. It's definitely not that cold. But she's grinning as she squeezes my arm. Come on. Let's spread some Christmas cheer. I step up onto the second step, where everyone can see me, and my heart immediately tries to crawl into my throat. There must be 30 people gathered now, maybe more, all looking at me with expectant smiles. Deep breath. You can do this. Hi everyone, I start, and my voice sounds steadier than I feel. Thank you for coming out on such a gray afternoon. Grace and I thought the town could use a little spontaneous Christmas spirit, so we're going to sing some carols together. Nothing fancy, just community and joy and maybe some off-key harmonies. Gentle laughter ripples through the crowd, and I feel my shoulders relax slightly. We'll start with Deck the Halls. Everyone knows that one. Here are the song sheets if you need them, but mostly just sing from your heart. I distribute the papers with Nathan's help, and people huddle together to share, creating little clusters of community. I'm about to count us in when I hear a familiar voice. Are we too late? I turn to see Julian climbing the steps, a teenage girl with freckles and his blue eyes behind him. She's wrapped in a bright red scarf that looks hand-knitted. His daughter. Ella. Something warm blooms in my chest at the sight of them together. Perfect timing, I manage, trying not to show how much his presence steadies me. We're just starting. Ella heard about it at her friend's house, Julian explains, and there's something softer in his expression than I've seen during rehearsals. She insisted we come. I love caroling, Ella says brightly, moving to stand near the front. And Dad never sings anymore, so I figured I'd make him. Julian's expression flickers, something complicated passing across his face, but he doesn't protest. Just takes a song sheet and settles near the back of the gathering, where he can see but doesn't have to be seen. Our eyes meet for just a moment, and he gives me the smallest nod. You've got this. I turn back to the crowd, 30-some faces waiting for me to begin, and suddenly my throat feels too tight. The opening line of Deck the Hall sits in my mind, clear and ready, but I can't make my voice cooperate. This is it. This is the high school auditorium all over again. Everyone watching, waiting, and I'm going to. A low hum rises from somewhere behind me. Soft, barely audible, but there. The melody of Deck the Halls carried on a single sustained note. Julian. He's humming. Giving me the pitch, the rhythm, the courage to start. I take a breath and join him, my voice tentative at first but growing stronger as the melody takes shape. By the second measure, Ella's clear soprano adds to ours. By the third, the whole crowd has joined in, and suddenly it's not about me anymore. It's about all of us together, singing into the gray December afternoon. Deck the halls with boughs of holly, fa la 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 la, la 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 la. We move through the verses, and with each one my confidence builds. This isn't a performance. It's a gift. A small offering of joy to a town that needed it, and I'm just the one who started it. When we finish Deck the Halls, the crowd applauds. Not for me, but for all of us, for the shared moment of brightness against the gloom. Nathan hands out cocoa, and we move into Jingle Bells, then Silent Night, each song easier than the last. I catch Julian watching me during Silent Night, the carol we practiced together just 2 nights ago. There's something in his expression I've never seen before. Pride, maybe. Or recognition. Like he sees not just what I did, but what it cost me to do it. And for once, it doesn't make me want to hide. When we finish the last carol, Joy to the World, the crowd lingers, reluctant to let the moment end. People chat over cocoa, thank Grace and me for organizing it, mention how much lighter they feel despite the gray sky. That was beautiful, Mrs. Patterson says, patting my hand. Just what we all needed. Belle hugs me briefly. You have a lovely voice. I didn't realize. Neither did I admit, and she laughs like she understands exactly what I mean. Ella appears at my elbow, her face bright with cold and enthusiasm. Miss Harper? That was so cool. Do you work here? At the library? I do. I'm the assistant librarian. Dad said you're directing the Christmas choir. She glances back at Julian, who's talking quietly with Nathan. He practices your arrangements at home. On our piano. He hasn't done that in forever. The information settles warm in my chest. Your dad's an excellent pianist, I tell her. He used to be amazing. Something wistful crosses her young face. Before my mom died, he'd play all the time. Concerts and everything. I'm sorry. About your mom. Thanks. Ella's smile is brave and a little sad. I think maybe he's starting to remember how much he loves music. Before I can figure out how to respond to that, Julian appears beside his daughter, his hand gentle on her shoulder. Ready to head home? He asks Ella, but his eyes are on me. Can we stay a little longer? Please? Ella. I want to help clean up. And Miss Harper probably needs help, right? She turns to me with such hopeful pleading that I can't help but smile. I wouldn't say no to an extra pair of hands. Julian looks like he wants to protest, but instead he nods. All right. But just for a bit. Ella helps Grace and me gather song sheets and fold up the table while Julian hovers nearby, close enough to be helpful but far enough to give us space. Your daughter's wonderful, I tell him when Ella runs inside with Grace to return the thermoses. She is. His voice carries that complicated mix of pride and pain. She's been the reason I've kept going these past 2 years. Some days the only reason. The admission feels significant, like he's letting me see something he usually keeps hidden. I don't know what to say that wouldn't sound trite or empty, so I just nod. You did well today, he says after a moment. Leading the singing. I did, actually. I hesitated. I know. His mouth curves in the smallest smile. That's why I hummed. Thank you for that. I gesture vaguely, trying to find words for what he did. For not letting me freeze. You wouldn't have frozen. Not really. You just needed a moment. He's standing close enough now that I can see the silver threading through his dark hair, the fine lines around his eyes. You're stronger than you think, Lydia. My name in his voice still catches me off guard, even though we've been using first names since our practice session started. There's something different about hearing it out here, in the open air with the gray sky overhead and the lingering warmth of the crowd's presence around us. Something less guarded than the careful way we speak during rehearsals. I didn't feel strong, I admit. I felt terrified. I know. But you started singing anyway. His slight smile reaches his eyes. That's what strength looks like. Grace and Ella emerge from the library, laughing about something, and the moment breaks. But not completely. Something's changed, some wall has come down, and when Julian's hand briefly touches my elbow as we all say goodbye, the warmth of it lingers long after he and Ella drive away. So, Grace says as we watch them go, her voice full of knowing. Dr. Pierce, We're colleagues. Choir director and accompanist. Right. Colleagues. She links her arm through mine as we head back inside. Colleagues who look at each other like that. Like what? Like you're both surprised to find out music still sounds beautiful. I want to protest, to deflect, but the truth is Grace is right. Something is shifting between Julian and me. Something that started with a note tucked into sheet music and grew with every private practice session, every shared glance across a piano. Something that feels like harmony.
Chapter 6. Julian. I'm setting up sheet music at the piano while the community center is still empty when Lydia arrives, her arms full of folders and what looks like a thermos of tea. She's wearing a forest green cardigan that brings out the hazel in her eyes, and when she spots me at the piano, her face lights up with a smile that does something complicated to my chest. You're early, she says, setting her things down on the front table. So are you. I wanted to review the notes for Oh Holy Night one more time. The soprano entrance in the second verse is tricky. She pulls out her folder. I made a note of who tends to rush and who tends to drag. Is that excessive? It feels excessive. It's thorough. And that's not a bad thing. Her smile turns self-deprecating. You're being kind. I gesture to the piano bench. Want to run through it before everyone arrives? We have time. She hesitates for only a moment before joining me, settling into what's become her spot on the bench. Close enough that I catch the faint scent of vanilla and old books. Close enough that when she leans forward to study the music, her shoulder almost brushes mine. We've done these private sessions before or after rehearsals several times now. Officially, we're working on arrangements. Unofficially, I'm not sure what we're doing. Only that I've started looking forward to Tuesdays and Thursdays the way I used to look forward to concerts. With anticipation instead of dread. From the top? I ask. She nods, and I play the opening measures while she conducts, humming the soprano line under her breath. Her directing has improved dramatically over the past 2 weeks. She's found her rhythm, her confidence. Still gentle, still apologetic at times, but there's a sureness underneath now that wasn't there before. When she stops me at the second verse to discuss dynamics, I realize I'm smiling. Actually smiling during a conversation about musical notation. What? She asks, catching my expression. Nothing. Just that you're good at this. Better than you think. Color rises in her cheeks. I had a good teacher. I haven't taught you anything. All I did was point out what was already there. That's teaching. She tucks a strand of hair behind her ear, a gesture I've come to recognize as nervous. Anyway, thank you. For the practice sessions and for not giving up on me after that disastrous first rehearsal. Why would I give up on you? The question seems to catch her off guard. Because I was clearly in over my head? You weren't the only one who was in over their head that first night. You played perfectly. Technically, maybe. But I was terrified. The admission comes easier than it should. I hadn't played in front of people in 2 years. Every note felt like opening a door I'd locked for a reason. Lydia's expression softens with understanding, and I'm struck again by how she listens. It's one of the things I've come to appreciate about her, that quality of genuine presence. What changed? She asks quietly. You did. The words hang between us, more honest than I intended. But they're true. Something about her tentative courage, her willingness to try despite her fear, made my own fear seem less insurmountable. Before she can respond, the door opens and choir members start arriving. The moment breaks, but not completely. We exchange a look that feels like a continuation of the conversation, a promise to pick it up later. The rehearsal goes well. Better than well. The choir's voices are blending now, finding harmonies that sounded impossible 3 weeks ago. Lydia directs with growing confidence, and I follow her cues with an ease that surprises me. We found our rhythm, just like Hazel said we would. During Silent Night, I catch myself watching Lydia instead of the music. The way she mouths the words while conducting, the gentle sway of her body with the melody, the soft smile when the altos finally nail their entrance. She's completely absorbed in the music, unself-conscious in a way she never is when she knows someone's watching. She's beautiful. The thought arrives unbidden and unwelcome, followed immediately by guilt. I shouldn't be noticing. Shouldn't be feeling this warmth in my chest that has nothing to do with the music and everything to do with the woman conducting it. After rehearsal, most of the choir filters out quickly. It's cold outside and getting colder, and everyone's eager to get home. But Lydia lingers, organizing sheet music with meticulous care, and I find myself taking longer than necessary to gather my own things. Grace pauses by the piano on her way out, her eyes moving between Lydia and me with barely concealed amusement. Good rehearsal tonight. Very good, I agree. Lydia, Nathan's making dinner, and you're welcome to join us if you'd like. I'm okay, Lydia says, not looking up from her folders. I'll just be a few more minutes. Grace's knowing smile suggests she sees right through both of us, but she just waves and heads out, leaving us alone in the quiet community center. The silence should be awkward. Instead, it's comfortable. You don't have to stay, Lydia says, finally looking up. I know you need to get home to Ella. She's at a friend's house. I have time. I move to help her stack chairs, and we fall into an easy rhythm. Her folding music stands, me arranging chairs against the wall. The choir sounded good tonight. They did, didn't they? Her voice carries surprised pleasure. I think we might actually pull this off. There was never any doubt. You're being kind again. I'm being honest. I set down the last chair and turned to face her. You've done something remarkable, Lydia. Taking a group of well-meaning amateurs and turning them into something cohesive. That takes skill. It takes patience. And a very talented accompanist. She's trying for light, but there's something vulnerable in her expression. I couldn't do this without you. Yes, you could. You'd just do it differently. Would I? She laughs, soft and a little sad. I'm not sure. I think I've spent so long being afraid of failing that I forgot how to try. And you reminded me. My wife was a singer, I hear myself say, the words coming from somewhere I didn't know was ready to speak. Caroline. She had this incredible voice. She was a soprano, like you. Powerful. She could fill a concert hall without a microphone. Lydia goes very still, her eyes soft with attention. We met at Duke. She was studying vocal performance, I was in composition. We used to practice together for hours, her singing, me accompanying. Every spare moment we had, we'd find a practice room and make music together. The memory aches, but it's a different kind of ache than it used to be. Softer. Less sharp. After we got married, after Ella was born, we still did it. Friday nights were our time. We'd put Ella to bed and go down to the living room, and Caroline would sing while I played. What was her favorite song? Lydia's voice is barely above a whisper, like she's afraid of breaking something fragile. Come what may. From Moulin Rouge. She loved that movie, loved that song. Said it was about love being stronger than anything, even death. I have to stop, swallow past the tightness in my throat. She sang it at our wedding. And the last time I played piano was at her memorial service. I accompanied a recording of her singing it. After that, I stopped. Couldn't touch a piano without hearing her voice and feeling the silence where she should be. Tears shine in Lydia's eyes, but she doesn't look away. Doesn't offer platitudes or try to fill the silence with empty comfort. She just listens, the way she always does, with her whole heart. I haven't played that song since, I say. Can't even think about it without it hurting, Lydia finishes softly. Yes. She moves closer, not quite touching but near enough that I feel the warmth of her presence. I'm so sorry, Julian. For your loss. For Ella's. For all the music that's been silent because of it. Don't apologize. It's not, I stop, trying to find the right words. I thought I was protecting myself. Protecting Ella. By avoiding the piano, by keeping everything locked away where it couldn't hurt us anymore. But I think maybe I was stuck. Frozen, like you were on that stage. Too afraid to try again. And now I'm here. Playing for a small town Christmas choir and wondering how something that used to hurt so much can suddenly feel like. I trail off, not sure how to finish. Like possibility? Lydia offers, her voice gentle. Yes. Like that. We stand there in the empty community center, surrounded by folded chairs and silent pianos, and something passes between us. Understanding, maybe. Recognition. Two people who've been hiding from their own hearts, slowly finding the courage to step back into the light. Maybe that song's been waiting for you to play it again, Lydia whispers. The words hit me square in the chest. Not because they're profound, but because they're simple. True. Caroline's favorite song doesn't have to be a monument to grief. Maybe it can be something else. A bridge between who I was and who I'm becoming. A way to honor what I lost without staying lost myself. Maybe, I say, and for the first time in 2 years, I actually believe it might be possible. Lydia's laugh escapes soft and sudden, and the sound does something to me. Disarms me completely. It's not the polite laughter of social obligation or the careful humor of someone afraid to take up space. It's genuine and warm and entirely her, and I realize with startling clarity that I've been waiting to hear it. Looking forward to it. Looking forward to her. What's funny? I ask. Nothing. Everything. She brushes at her eyes, smiling despite the tears. A month ago, I was terrified of singing in front of anyone. And now I'm standing here talking about music and possibility with someone who plays like you do, and somehow it doesn't feel impossible anymore. Any of it. Good, I tell her. It shouldn't feel impossible. None of it should. The air between us feels charged with something I'm not ready to name. Something that has nothing to do with Christmas choirs and everything to do with the way she's looking at me, like I'm not broken, just healing. Like healing is enough. I should let you go, she says eventually, though neither of us moves. Right. Yes. I force myself to step back, to gather my coat and keys. But at the door, I pause. Lydia? Yes? Thank you. For listening. For not pitying me. I could never pity you. Her smile is soft and sure. I admire you too much for that. The words follow me home, warming something in my chest that's been cold for too long. That night, after Ella's in bed, I stand in front of our piano. It's covered in framed photos, buried under the everyday detritus of life. I clear the top carefully, revealing the polished wood beneath. Then I sit down and lift the lid over the keys. I don't play Come What May. Not yet. Instead, I play Silent Night, the arrangement Lydia and I worked on together. And for the first time in 2 years, the sound of the piano doesn't make me ache with loss. It makes me think of hazel eyes and gentle laughter. It makes me think of hope.
Chapter 7. Lydia. The church smells like fresh pine and possibility. It's Saturday afternoon, a week before Christmas, and half the choir has shown up to transform the sanctuary into something magical for the concert. Garland waits in boxes by the door, white lights are coiled like sleeping snakes, and someone's brought a ladder tall enough to reach the high rafters. I'm organizing supplies on a pew when Grace appears at my elbow, grinning. Hazel just deputized you to supervise decorations. She what? Her exact words were Lydia has an eye for beauty, and Julian has the height for tall places. Put them in charge. Grace's eyes sparkle with mischief. I think she's matchmaking. She's helping decorate a church. She's definitely matchmaking. Grace squeezes my arm. Have fun. Try not to fall off any ladders. Or for any widowed music teachers. Grace. But she's already gone, leaving me with an armful of garland and a face that probably matches the red velvet bows scattered across the pews. Julian arrives a few minutes later with Ella, both of them bundled against the December cold. Ella's wearing that same red scarf, and Julian's wool coat makes him look like he stepped out of a different era. It's elegant and slightly old-fashioned in a way that suits him. Hazel said you needed reinforcements, he says, and there's warmth in his voice that wasn't there a month ago. Something that's grown between us during rehearsals and private practice sessions and conversations that stretch longer than they should. Apparently I'm in charge of aesthetics and you're in charge of reaching high places. That sounds like Hazel. His slight smile does things to my pulse. Where do we start? Ella immediately gravitates toward the piano at the front of the sanctuary. Can I play? I promise I'll help after, but I've been wanting to try this piano forever. Julian's expression flickers with something complicated, but he nods. Just for a bit. Then you help with decorations. Deal. Ella's already at the bench, running her fingers over the keys with obvious reverence. I hand Julian a bundle of garland, and we start with the altar rail, winding evergreen around the dark wood. We work in comfortable silence, the kind that's become familiar between us. Ella plays softly in the background. Scales at first, then simple melodies. Christmas carols, I realize. The ones we'd been rehearsing. She's good, I say quietly. She gets it from her mother. Julian's voice carries the usual note of loss, but it's softer now. Less sharp. Caroline started teaching her when she was 5. Basic theory, simple songs. Ella switched to violin later, but she still loves piano. Does she know? About why you stopped playing? She knows her mother died and I couldn't anymore. He pauses, securing a loop of garland. She doesn't know how stuck I've been. How afraid. You're not stuck anymore. He glances at me, and something in his expression makes my breath catch. No. I'm not. The moment stretches between us, warm and fragile, until Ella's voice breaks through. Miss Harper? Do you know this one? She plays the opening measures of O Holy Night, and my chest tightens with recognition. Our most challenging arrangement. The one Julian and I have practiced together more than any other. I do, I say, moving toward the piano before I can overthink it. Will you sing it? Please? I'd love to hear it before the concert. I look at Julian, who's watching me with quiet encouragement. The same look he gave me during the library carol sing. The one that says you can do this. Okay, I hear myself say. From the beginning. Ella plays the introduction, and I start to sing. My voice is quiet at first, uncertain in the vast space of the sanctuary, but Ella's playing is confident and clear, giving me something to follow. By the second verse, I've stopped thinking about technique or pitch and just let the music carry me. Fall on your knees, oh, hear the angel voices. When I glance up, Julian has moved closer, standing a few feet from the piano. He's completely still, his expression unguarded in a way I've never seen. There's something raw in his eyes. Not pain, exactly, but emotion. Deep and complicated and entirely focused on the music. On me. Ella and I finish the song, the final note fading into the silence of the church, and for a moment no one moves. Then Ella grins, breaking the spell. That was beautiful. Dad, did you hear? Wasn't she amazing? Yes. Julian's voice is rough, quiet. She was. The way he says it makes me feel like I'm standing on the edge of something vast and terrifying and wonderful all at once. Okay, now I'll help decorate, Ella announces, hopping up from the bench. What do you need me to do? I put her to work untangling lights while Julian and I move to the high windows, where garland needs to be draped along the sills. He climbs the ladder while I hand up supplies, and we fall into an easy rhythm. Pass, drape, secure. His hands are steady and sure, and I find myself watching the way he moves. A little to the left, I call up. Perfect. He climbs down and steps back to survey our work, standing close enough that his shoulder brushes mine. What do you think? I think it looks like Christmas. Good Christmas or generic Christmas? Good Christmas. The kind that feels like coming home. I tilt my head, studying the garland. Though maybe one more loop on the right side? He laughs and the sound is so unexpected, so genuine, that I can't help but laugh too. You're very particular about your garland placement. I'm a librarian. We're particular about everything. I've noticed. But his tone is warm, affectionate even, and when I meet his eyes I see something there that makes my heart stumble. He's looking at me the way he looked at me after I sang. Like I'm not just the nervous assistant librarian who got volunteered for a job she wasn't qualified for. Like I'm someone worth seeing. Lydia, he starts, then stops. Starts again. I wanted to tell you. Dad. Miss Harper. Come look. Ella's voice echoes from the front of the church. I found the nativity set and it's so old and beautiful. We should go help her, I say. Right. Yes. But he doesn't move immediately, and neither do I. We stand there in the quiet nave of the church, surrounded by half-finished decorations and the lingering echo of music, and I realize something that terrifies and thrills me in equal measure. I'm falling for him. For this careful, grieving man who's learning to play music again. An hour later, the church looks transformed. Garland drapes every surface, white lights twinkle in the windows, and the nativity set Ella found is arranged carefully at the front, the carved wooden figures worn smooth by decades of handling. Most of the choir has filtered out, heading home to warm houses and Saturday evening plans. Grace left 20 minutes ago with a significant look and whispered, "Take your time." Even Hazel departed with a knowing smile, mentioning something about picking up cocoa supplies for the concert. Which leaves just the three of us. Ella is examining the nativity set with the intense focus of a teenager who still believes in magic, and Julian and I are finishing the last string of lights along the back pew. "Hand me that end?" Julian asks, and I pass him the plug. Our fingers brush as he takes it, and the contact sends warmth up my arm. It's not the first time we've touched. There've been dozens of small moments during practice sessions, hands meeting over sheet music or steadying each other on ladders. But this time neither of us pulls away immediately. His fingers curl slightly around mine, just for a second, and when I look up his eyes are already on me. Dark and intent and closer than I expected. "Lydia." My name in his voice is soft. Almost tentative. "I've been wanting to. I'm going to run to the bathroom," Ella announces from the front of the church. "Be right back." Julian drops my hand like he's been burned, stepping back quickly. Professional distance reasserting itself even though his expression says he'd rather do the opposite. I curl my fingers where his just were, trying to hold on to the warmth. "You were saying?" I prompt once Ella disappears down the hall. He runs a hand through his hair, and I've come to recognize the gesture as nervous. "I was going to say that these past few weeks rehearsing meant more to me than you probably realize." "They've meant a lot to me too." "Have they?" He takes a step closer, then seems to think better of it and stops. "Because sometimes I wonder if I'm reading too much into the way you look at me. Or the way we've been." He trails off, clearly struggling with words that don't come naturally to someone so careful with language. My heart hammers against my ribs. The way we've been what? Finding harmony. His slight smile is self-deprecating. That's a terrible metaphor. No, it's perfect. I move closer, closing the distance he just created. We have been finding harmony, I mean. In the music and in. I take a breath, trying to be as brave as he's being. In everything else. Something shifts in his expression. Relief, maybe. Or hope. So I'm not imagining it? No. You're not imagining it. We're standing close now, closer than colleagues should stand, and I can see the fine details of his face. The silver at his temples, the small scar above his left eyebrow, the way his eyes have gone soft and almost uncertain. He reaches up slowly, giving me time to move away, and tucks a strand of hair behind my ear. His fingers linger against my cheek, and I forget how to breathe. "I haven't felt this in a long time," he says quietly. "Didn't think I'd ever feel it again. Wasn't sure I wanted to. And now? Now I can't stop thinking about you. About the way you hum when you're organizing books. About your laugh. About how brave you are even when you think you're not." His thumb brushes across my cheekbone. "About how much I want to. Found it." Ella's voice echoes down the hall, cheerful and completely oblivious. "There's the cutest little bathroom with, oh." She stops in the doorway, taking in the scene of her father and me standing close, his hand still on my face, both of us frozen like guilty teenagers. Julian drops his hand and steps back, and I immediately miss the warmth of his touch. The moment is gone, shattered by reality and 13-year-old timing. "Sorry," Ella says, though her grin suggests she's not sorry at all. "Did I interrupt something?" "No," Julian says, too quickly. "Nothing at all. We were finishing the lights," I supply, trying to calm my racing heart. "The last string." "Right. The lights." Ella's expression is pure innocence, but her eyes sparkle with mischief. "They look great. Everything looks great. Are we ready to go?" Julian clears his throat. "Yes. We should head home. It's getting late." We gather our coats in awkward silence, the easy comfort from earlier replaced by something charged and uncertain. At the church door, Julian pauses, his hand on my arm. "Lydia." "Tuesday," I say softly, understanding what he's asking. "We'll have our practice session. We can talk then." He nods, relief evident in his expression. "Tuesday." Ella gives me a quick hug on her way out and whispers, "He really likes you, you know." Like, really likes you. Then she's gone, leaving me standing in the doorway of the decorated church, my face burning and my heart still echoing with the almost moment we just shared.
Chapter 8. Julian. The community center's storage room smells like dust and forgotten things. I'm sorting through donation boxes for the choir's holiday fundraiser, a task Hazel volunteered me for with her usual combination of charm and inevitability, when my hand closes around something small and metal at the bottom of a cardboard box labeled miscellaneous. A music box. It's old, tarnished silver with delicate filigree around the edges, and clearly broken. The winding key turns but produces no sound. I move it around in my hands, studying the craftsmanship. Swiss-made, probably 60 or 70 years old. Beautiful in the way old things are when someone once cared about them. I'm about to set it aside with the other items that need repair when I pause, thumb tracing the worn edges. Lydia would like this. The thought arrives unbidden. She'd appreciate the delicate metalwork, the age of it, the story it might tell. She notices those things. Small beautiful details other people miss. The way she runs her fingers along the spines of old books, the care she takes arranging garland, the soft smile when someone finds exactly the book they needed. I slip the music box into my jacket pocket before I can second-guess the impulse. Julian? Are you still back there? Hazel's voice carries from the main room. We're breaking for lunch if you want to join us. I'll be right out, I call back, my hand still curved around the music box in my pocket. I spend the rest of the afternoon distracted, my mind half on sorting donations and half on the small weight of silver pressing against my ribs. After we finish, after everyone else has left, I take the music box home and spread my tools across the kitchen table. Ella wanders in while I'm examining the internal mechanism, her violin case slung over her shoulder. Whatcha doing? Repairing a music box. Since when do you repair music boxes? But she's already leaning over my shoulder, curious. Where'd you get it? Found it in the donations for the choir fundraiser. I use a small screwdriver to open the bottom panel, revealing a tangle of delicate gears and springs. The mechanism is jammed. Should be fixable. Is it for someone? Her tone is carefully casual, but I can hear the question underneath. The hope. Maybe. For Miss Harper? I glance up at her. What makes you say that? Dad. She gives me the look that says she's 13 but not oblivious. You've been different since the choir started. Happier. And Saturday at the church, you two were definitely having a moment before I interrupted. You didn't interrupt. I totally interrupted. And I'm not sorry because it was adorable. She grins. So is the music box for her? I turn back to the mechanism, using tweezers to carefully realign a bent spring. I thought she might like it. That's all. Mom would have loved that. Ella's voice softens. You doing something thoughtful for someone. The mention of Caroline makes me pause, tweezers suspended in midair. For a moment, I wait for the familiar stab of guilt. The feeling that moving forward means leaving her behind. But it doesn't come. Instead, there's just a soft ache of memory, and underneath it, something that might be permission. Caroline would want me to be happy. She would want Ella to see me living instead of just surviving. Yes, I say quietly. She would have. Ella squeezes my shoulder once, then heads upstairs to practice, leaving me alone with the music box and thoughts I'm not quite ready to examine too closely. It takes me 2 hours to fix it. The mechanism was jammed by a bent spring and accumulated debris from years of neglect, but the craftsmanship underneath is beautiful. Once I've cleaned and realigned everything, I wind the key carefully and hold my breath. The first notes emerge soft and clear, a simple melody that fills the quiet kitchen. Brahms' Lullaby. I let it play through its cycle, the delicate tune winding down until silence returns. It's a common song for music boxes, this gentle, timeless melody that's been putting children to sleep for generations. But there's something about it that feels right. Something that makes me think of Lydia's gentle nature, her quiet strength, the way she hums softly when she thinks no one's listening. I close the music box carefully and set it on the counter, polished silver catching the kitchen light. I'll give it to her tomorrow after rehearsal. The thought makes my heart beat faster, and I realize that I'm nervous. Actually nervous about giving a gift to a woman I've been working with for a month. A woman who's become more than a colleague, more than a friend, though I haven't quite found the courage to name what she is becoming. But Saturday at the church, when I almost kissed her, when she looked up at me with those hazel eyes full of trust and something deeper, I knew then what I've been trying not to acknowledge for weeks. I'm falling for Lydia Harper. Maybe I've already fallen. Tuesday's rehearsal is our best yet. The choir has transformed over the past month from a well-meaning group of amateurs into something cohesive. Something almost beautiful. And Lydia has transformed too. She directs with confidence now, her instructions clear and kind, her musical instinct sure. When she stops the tenors mid-phrase to correct their breathing, she does it without apologizing. When she demonstrates a difficult passage, she sings out clearly instead of hiding behind her uncertainty. She's radiant tonight, wearing a deep burgundy sweater that brings warmth to her cheeks, her hair loose around her shoulders instead of pulled back in its usual bun. When she catches my eye during "O Holy Night" and smiles, something in my chest pulls tight. I accompany her with an ease that feels like breathing. I'm anticipating her cues, matching her tempo, filling the spaces between melody and harmony with exactly what the music needs. We've stopped being director and accompanist and become something else. Partners. Maybe more than partners. The music box waits in my jacket pocket, its small weight a constant reminder of what I'm planning to do. What I'm hoping to say. After rehearsal, people linger longer than usual, caught up in the warmth of the season and the growing excitement about the concert. Grace corners Lydia by the refreshment table, and I catch fragments of their conversation. Something about the library's holiday display and whether they need more volunteers for the Christmas Eve setup. Finally, everyone filters out into the December night, calling goodbyes and see you Thursdays. Grace gives Lydia a long look and a whispered comment that makes Lydia's cheeks flush before she leaves, and then it's just the two of us in the quiet community center. The way it's been after most rehearsals lately. These stolen moments that have become my favorite part of the week. Good rehearsal, Lydia says, gathering sheet music with practiced efficiency. I think we're actually ready for the concert. Can you believe it? I can. I close the piano lid carefully. You've done something remarkable, Lydia. Taking a group of well-meaning amateurs and turning them into something cohesive. That takes real skill. I had help. She glances at me with a soft smile. A very patient, very talented accompanist who didn't give up on me even when I had no idea what I was doing. You always knew what you were doing. You just needed to believe it. We stand there in the familiar space between the piano and the front row of chairs, and I'm suddenly aware that we're alone. That there's no Ella to interrupt, no choir members lingering, no Grace watching with knowing eyes. Just us and the weight of everything we've been carefully not saying for weeks. My hand finds the music box in my pocket. I have something for you, I say before I can lose my nerve. For me? I pull out the small box, the silver catching the overhead lights. I found this in the donations. It was broken, but I fixed it. I pause, feeling uncharacteristically uncertain. I thought you might like it. Lydia's eyes widen as she takes it carefully, cradling it in both hands. Julian, this is beautiful. You fixed this? For me? It's nothing elaborate. Just a simple repair. It's not nothing. She traces the filigree with her fingertip, her touch reverent. This is thoughtful. And lovely. Can I wind it? Her hands tremble slightly as she winds the small key. The first notes of Brahms' lullaby emerge, soft and clear and perfect, and I watch her face transform. This song, she whispers. My grandmother used to sing this to me. When I was little, every night before bed. She'd sit on the edge of my mattress and sing Brahms' lullaby until I fell asleep. The coincidence catches me off guard. I chose the music box. I'm sorry, I say softly. I didn't know. I didn't mean to make you sad. I'm not sad. She laughs through tears, holding the music box against her chest. This is one of the most beautiful gifts anyone's ever given me. Sometimes the right gifts find their way to the right people. You fixed something I didn't think could be fixed. Her voice is thick with emotion, and I realize she's not just talking about the music box. I move closer, drawn by the vulnerability in her face. You're not the only one who needed to hear it again. The lullaby? The music. The joy. The reminder that broken things can still be beautiful. I reach up and catch another tear with my thumb, my hand lingering against her cheek. You gave me that, Lydia. You've reminded me that life doesn't end just because part of it does. Julian. My name is barely a whisper. That day at the church, I say, my voice rough. I wanted to tell you something. Before Ella interrupted. I know. Color rises in her cheeks. I wanted to hear it. I'm falling for you. The words come out raw and honest. I haven't felt this in so long, didn't think I'd ever feel it again. And I'm probably going to be terrible at this, at dating or whatever this becomes, because I'm still healing in ways that take time, and I come with a greeting 13-year-old and a past that's always going to be part of who I am. She rises on her toes and kisses me. Just like that. Her lips soft and tentative against mine, the music box still clutched between us. I freeze for a heartbeat, startled, and then something in me unlocks completely. I cup her face with both hands and kiss her back, slow and careful and full of everything I've been trying not to feel for weeks. She tastes like tea and hope, and when she sighs softly against my mouth, I feel it all the way to my bones. The kiss deepens, tender and searching, and I realize I'm trembling. Actually trembling like a teenager instead of a 39-year-old widower who should know better. But maybe knowing better is overrated. When we finally break apart, I rest my forehead against hers, breathing hard. I wasn't terrible at that, was I? I manage. Her laugh is breathless and bright. No. Definitely not terrible. Good. Because I'd like to do it again. Now. Eventually. When I can think straight. I pull back slightly to look at her, taking in her flushed cheeks and bright eyes. But first I need to know if this is what you want. If I'm what you want. Because once we start this, I'm not going to want to stop. I want this. Her certainty is unwavering. I want you. Past and present and 13-year-old daughter included. She likes you, you know. Ella. I like her too. Lydia's smile is soft. She's wonderful. And she's going to be completely insufferable when she finds out about this. Probably. She's been dropping hints for weeks. So has Grace. We laugh together, and it feels easy. Natural. Like we've been doing this for years instead of minutes. Lydia winds the music box again, and we listen to Brahms' lullaby play through in the quiet community center, her hand in mine, and I think about all the things that have been restored over the past month. The music box. My relationship with music. The silence I've been living in. My heart.
Chapter 9. Lydia. I make it through exactly half of Wednesday morning before Grace corners me in the staff room. Okay, spill. She sets down 2 mugs of tea and closes the door with deliberate care. You've been humming nonstop since you got here, you're wearing actual makeup, and you just shelved an entire cart of mysteries in the biography section without noticing. Heat floods my cheeks. I did not. You absolutely did. Grace settles into the chair across from me, her expression knowing and delighted. So what happened? And don't say nothing. The blush deepens, and Grace's eyes go wide. He kissed you. Dr. Pierce kissed you. When? Where? Tell me everything. Actually, I kissed him, I admit, wrapping my hands around the warm mug. After rehearsal yesterday. He gave me this gift, this beautiful old music box he'd fixed, and it played the lullaby my grandmother used to sing to me, and I kissed him before I could think about all the reasons I shouldn't. Grace's smile is radiant. Lydia Harper. I'm so proud of you. You're proud that I threw myself at my accompanist in the middle of the community center? I'm proud that you were brave. That you went after something you wanted instead of waiting for permission or perfect timing or whatever excuse fear would have given you. She squeezes my hand across the table. So what happened after? What did he say? He kissed me back. The memory makes me warm all over. We're going to have coffee. Or dinner. Something that isn't choir related. That's wonderful. Grace pauses, studying my face. So why do you look terrified? I'm not terrified. Lydia. I set down my tea, trying to organize the tangle of emotions I've been carrying since last night. What if I'm not enough? He was married to someone who sounds incredible. A trained singer, confident, full of life. And I'm just, me. Quiet. Uncertain. What if he realizes he made a mistake? Do you think you're a mistake? No. Maybe. I don't know. I press my hands against my face. I haven't done this before. Haven't let myself want someone like this. What if I disappoint him? Grace is quiet for a moment, her expression softening into something tender and understanding. Can I tell you a story? Always. When Nathan first asked me out, I nearly said no. Actually, I did say no. Twice. She laughs at the memory. Because I'd spent so long hiding behind fiction, living in books, experiencing love through characters instead of risking it myself. I told myself I was content, that my quiet life was enough. But really, I was just terrified of being seen. Of being vulnerable. Of disappointing someone if they got too close. What changed? Nathan didn't give up. He kept showing up, and he was always kind. One day he said something that shifted everything. Grace leans forward. He said, I'm not asking you to be someone you're not. I'm asking you to let me see who you already are. The words settle in my chest, warm and true. You don't have to be like his wife, Grace continues gently. Julian doesn't want you to be. He wants you. The librarian who hums while she works, who gets emotional over music boxes, who was brave enough to kiss him first. That's who he's falling for. But what if I'm not ready? What if I mess this up? You can't always wait until you're ready, Lydia. Sometimes you just have to start. Grace's smile is knowing. Sometimes you start singing before you know the words. I recognize my own advice, the words I've been telling the choir for weeks, and I can't help but laugh. Did you just use a music metaphor on me? I learned from the best. She stands and pulls me into a hug. You deserve this. You deserve him. And he clearly deserves you, or he wouldn't have spent hours fixing a music box just because he thought you'd like it. He couldn't have known what the song meant. Maybe that makes it even more perfect. He chose it because of who you are, not because he was trying to fix something for you. He was just thinking about you. The thought makes my heart swell. Thank you, I tell Grace, squeezing her tight. For being my friend. For knowing when I need to hear the truth. Always. Now go fix the mystery section before Mrs. Patterson stages an intervention.
Chapter 10. Julian. Our last rehearsal starts with the kind of energy that makes me believe we might actually pull off something special on Christmas Eve. The choir arrives early, chattering about the upcoming concert, and Lydia's directing with a confidence that still catches me off guard sometimes. She's wearing a cream-colored sweater that makes her eyes look more green than brown, and when she catches me watching her, her smile is soft and private. A smile meant just for me. We haven't had our date yet, but something's shifted between us since Tuesday. The air feels charged with possibility, with the sweet anticipation of what we're becoming. I'm setting up sheet music when the community center door opens and a voice I haven't heard in 2 years calls out. Julian Pierce. I thought that was your name on the flyer. I turn to see Professor David Whitmore striding across the room, looking exactly as he did at Duke. Tweed jacket, wire-rimmed glasses, that perpetual expression of amused condescension that made him simultaneously beloved and insufferable in the music department. David. I stand to shake his hand, surprised. What brings you to Juniper Falls? Visiting my sister for the holidays. She lives over in Elk Ridge. He glances around the community center, taking in the modest space, the folding chairs, the upright piano. His expression suggests he's mentally comparing it to the concert halls we used to frequent. Saw a flyer for the Christmas concert and recognized your name. Had to see for myself if it was really you. It's really me. Teaching high school music now, I heard. His tone manages to make it sound like a demotion. And directing community choirs. Quite a change from Duke. A necessary one. I keep my voice even, refusing to rise to the implicit criticism. My daughter needed stability after her mother passed. Juniper Falls offered that. Of course, of course. Tragic about Caroline. He waves a hand dismissively, already moving past the condolence. But this, he gestures at the gathering choir members. This is quite the departure from your usual work. Lydia moves to the front of the room, organizing music with careful attention that I recognize as nerves. She glances our way once, and I try to catch her eye to introduce her, but David's already talking again. Still, I suppose it's good for you. Therapeutic, even. He leans against the piano, making himself comfortable. Getting back to basics, working with amateur singers. No pressure, no expectations. Must be quite freeing after everything you've been through. The words land wrong. They are patronizing in a way I'm sure he doesn't intend but can't seem to help. As if what I'm doing here is somehow lesser than what I did before. As if teaching and accompanying and finding joy in music again is a step backward instead of forward. It's meaningful work, I say firmly. These people have real talent. Oh, I'm sure it's been lovely. David's smile is indulgent. Don't misunderstand me, Julian. It's generous of you. Most professionals wouldn't bother. Very admirable. I glance toward Lydia and see her standing frozen near the music stand, her face pale. She's close enough to have heard, and something in her expression makes my stomach drop. She looks stricken. David, I start, wanting to correct the impression his words just gave, wanting to make it clear that I'm not here out of some sense of charitable obligation or because this work is beneath me. But Lydia's already moving, gathering her coat with quick, jerky movements. Lydia? I take a step toward her, but she won't meet my eyes. I'm sorry, everyone. Her voice is tight, too controlled. I'm not feeling well. We'll have to skip tonight. Julian, can you dismiss everyone? Are you okay? Do you need? I'm fine. I just need to go home. She's already heading for the door, her folder of music clutched against her chest like armor. Grace appears at her elbow, concern written across her face. Lydia, wait. Let me drive you. I'm fine, Lydia repeats, and then she's gone, the door swinging shut behind her with a soft click that somehow sounds like finality. The choir members exchange confused glances. David looks mildly interested in the drama. And I stand there feeling like I've just watched something important slip through my fingers without understanding how. Friend of yours? David asks, nodding toward the door. She's the director, I say tersely. And she's not feeling well, so if you'll excuse me. I turn to the assembled singers, forcing my mind to focus despite the growing dread in my chest. Apologies, everyone. Lydia's not feeling well, so we won't be able to practice tonight. Please continue to work on your parts at home. We'll resume our normal schedule on Tuesday. They gather their things with murmured concern, several asking if Lydia's all right, if there's anything they can do. Grace lingers near the piano, her expression troubled. What happened? She asks quietly once most of the choir has left. She was fine 5 minutes ago. I don't know. But even as I say it, I'm replaying David's words in my mind. Amateur singers. Getting back to basics. Therapeutic. My old colleague showed up. Said some things that might have sounded patronizing? Grace supplies. Like you're here because it's easy? Like we're some kind of charity case? I don't think that. You know I don't think that. I know. But does Lydia? Grace's gaze is direct. She's been terrified of not being good enough since before she agreed to direct this choir. And if she heard your colleague implying those things, the pieces click into place with sickening clarity. Lydia overheard David. Heard him reduce this choir to some kind of amateur project I'm taking on out of pity or professional obligation. Heard him frame my work here as stepping down instead of stepping forward. And she believed it. I need to talk to her, I say, already reaching for my coat. Not tonight. Grace's hand on my arm stops me. Give her some space. Let her process. But she's wrong. She's completely wrong. Then you'll tell her that. Later. When she's ready to hear it. Grace squeezes my arm gently. I'll check on her. Make sure she's okay. But Julian? When you do talk to her, make sure she understands it's not just about the choir. Make sure she knows you see her as an equal. Not a project. Not someone to fix or save or condescend to. I do see her that way. I thought she knew that. Sometimes we need to hear things said out loud. Especially the things we're most afraid might not be true. Grace leaves, and I'm alone in the community center with David, who's examining the piano with the critical eye of someone cataloging its inadequacies. Bit of an overreaction, wasn't it? He observes. I was trying to compliment your resilience. I don't have the energy to explain why his words landed so poorly. I should lock up. It's getting late. Of course, of course. He gathers his coat. Good to see you, Julian. And truly, I meant what I said. It's admirable, what you're doing here. After he leaves, I sit at the piano and stare at the keys, trying to understand what just happened. Lydia was fine. We were fine. Better than fine. We kissed 2 days ago, we have a date tomorrow, and this morning I woke up feeling lighter than I have in years. And now she's gone, and I don't know why. I pull out my phone and start to text her, then stop. What would I even say? Are you okay? Seems inadequate. What did I do wrong? Sounds accusatory. I try anyway, I hope you're feeling better. Let me know if you need anything. I play a few notes on the piano, trying to calm the anxiety churning in my chest. But the music sounds empty without Lydia's voice to accompany it. Without her presence in the room, directing with that careful confidence she's worked so hard to build. In the silence, I hear it. The ghost of her humming. The way she'd hum quietly while organizing sheet music, or while waiting for everyone to settle, or just because the music was in her and needed to come out. The echo of her humming in the empty hall feels like a song ending too soon.
Chapter 11. Lydia. I wake to find Grace on my doorstep with coffee and a look that says she's not leaving until we talk. You're not sick, she says, brushing past me into my apartment. I might be coming down with something. You're coming down with fear. She sets the coffee on my kitchen table and turns to face me, arms crossed. What happened last night? And don't say nothing because you left rehearsal looking like someone punched you. I sink into a chair, wrapping my hands around the warm coffee cup. Did you hear what that professor said? About Julian working with amateur singers? About how it's therapeutic for him to get back to basics? I heard some of it. He made it sound like we're Julian's consolation prize. Like he's here because it's easy, not because it matters. My voice cracks. Like I'm just someone to fix. A project. Grace pulls out the chair across from me and sits. Did Julian say any of that? He didn't have to. He didn't deny it either. Lydia. Grace's voice is gentle but firm. That professor doesn't know you. He barely knows Julian. The man definitely doesn't know what's been happening between you two. Why are you letting a stranger's words matter more than everything Julian's shown you? Because what if the stranger is right? I stare into my coffee. Maybe I've been fooling myself and he sees me as someone who needs fixing. The nervous librarian who couldn't even direct a choir without his help. You really believe that? After the music box? After he kissed you? He fixed the music box because I'm broken. He kissed me because I kissed him first and he was being kind. Lydia Harper, that is the biggest. A knock at the door interrupts us. Grace goes to answer it, and I hear Hazel's unmistakable voice. I saw Grace's car outside and took a gamble. Hazel appears in my kitchen doorway, holding a basket covered with a checkered cloth. I brought scones. Still warm. She sets them on the table and studies me with those sharp eyes that see too much. Rough few days, she asks, pulling out the third chair. Something like that. Hazel pours herself coffee from Grace's thermos without asking. Want to tell me what happened? She thinks Julian sees her as a charity case, Grace supplies. Hazel's eyebrows rise. Based on what evidence? I explain about the professor's comments and how Julian didn't defend us. With each word, it sounds thinner, more fragile, but also more true. Because why else would someone like Dr. Julian Pierce choose to be here with someone like me? When I finish, Hazel is quiet for a long moment. Then she leans forward, her charm bracelet jingling. Let me tell you something about Julian, she says. That man showed up in Juniper Falls looking like a ghost. Hollow. He was going through the motions of living without actually being alive. I've seen grief before, and his was the kind that calcifies. It turns you hard and closed off and safe. She pauses, making sure I'm listening. And then I volunteered him for this choir. Against his will, I might add. He agreed for his daughter's sake, not because he wanted to. He was going to show up, play the piano, and leave without letting any of it touch him. Hazel's gaze is knowing. But then he met you. Hazel. I watched it happen, week by week. Watched him start arriving early. Then he started smiling during rehearsals and look at you like you'd reminded him of something he'd forgotten. She reaches across the table and takes my hand. That man is not here out of charity, Lydia. He's here because you woke him up. Tears prick my eyes. But what if I'm not enough? Some duets can't finish if one person stops singing, Hazel says softly. And right now, you've gone silent. Not because he did anything wrong, but because you're scared. I've never done this before. Never let myself want someone like this. I know, dear. But here's the thing about fear. It's very good at disguising itself as reason. She squeezes my hand. That professor's words gave you an excuse to run. To protect yourself before you could get hurt. But running doesn't keep you safe. It just keeps you alone. Grace nods. Don't mistake fear for reason, Lydia. You're braver than you think. I look between the two women who've become my anchors in Juniper Falls. Grace, who pushed me toward this choir in the first place. Hazel, who saw something in Julian and me before we saw it ourselves. What if he really does see me as a project? I whisper. Then he'll tell you that, and you'll deal with it, Grace says. But what if he doesn't? What if he's sitting at home right now, confused and hurt, wondering what he did wrong? What if you're throwing away something real because you're too afraid to ask a simple question? The thought makes my chest ache. Julian, confused. Julian, thinking he did something wrong. Julian, waiting for an explanation I haven't given. I cancelled our date, I admit. Told him I was sick. So uncancelled it, Hazel says simply. Call him. Text him. Show up at his door. But stop hiding, because that's not protecting your heart. It's just breaking it slower. After they leave, after more coffee and scones and gentle insistence that I'm worth fighting for, I sit alone in my apartment and think about everything that's happened over the past month. And I think about what Grace said. Don't mistake fear for reason. Because that's what I've been doing, isn't it? Taking that professor's careless words and using them as proof of what I've always feared. That I'm not good enough. That anyone who sees value in me must be mistaken or patronizing or kind. But Julian isn't kind in that way. If he thought I was inadequate, he would have said so weeks ago. Would have corrected me more, pushed harder, shown frustration. Instead, he's shown patience. And so much more. I've been protecting myself from love by pretending I don't want it. But I do want it. I want him.
Chapter 12. Julian. The church is empty, silent except for the creak of old wood settling and the whisper of wind against the stained glass windows. Everything is ready for tomorrow night's concert. I stand in the doorway, taking in the transformation. Garland drapes every surface, white lights twinkle in the windows, and candles wait on the altar, ready to be lit. Someone has arranged pine boughs along the pews, filling the air with the scent of winter and evergreen. It's beautiful. And tomorrow night, Lydia will stand at the front and direct without me if I can't fix this. What was supposed to be our final rehearsal was a disaster thanks to me. When I tried to go after her, Grace intercepted me with a gentle but firm shake of her head. Give her time. But we're out of time. The concert is tomorrow. Christmas Eve. And I still don't know how to reach her. I walk further inside, my footsteps echoing in the vast nave. The piano sits at the front, waiting. I haven't wanted to touch a piano since last night. Music feels complicated right now, tangled up with Lydia and misunderstanding and all the ways I've apparently failed to make myself clear. But maybe that's exactly why I need to play. I settle onto the bench and lift the lid, the keys gleaming in the afternoon light filtering through stained glass. My hands rest on them, not pressing, just touching. Then I start to play. Oh, Holy Night! Our most challenging arrangement. The one Lydia and I spent hours perfecting, adjusting dynamics, finding the places where piano and voice could breathe together. The opening measures fill the empty church, and I expect the music to feel hollow. Notes without meaning, mechanical execution without heart. But instead, I hear Lydia. Her gentle soprano, tentative at first but growing stronger with each verse. The way she closes her eyes during the high notes, trusting the music to carry her. The soft smile when we nail a particularly difficult transition. I keep playing, and the realization washes over me with startling clarity. This song doesn't hurt anymore. It doesn't feel empty. It reminds me of her. Of late-night practice sessions and the way she hums while organizing sheet music. Of the music box playing Brahms' lullaby and the kiss that followed. Of hazel eyes and nervous laughter and quiet courage. I love her. The thought arrives fully formed, undeniable. I'm in love with Lydia Harper. And I'm losing her because I haven't told her. Because I let someone else's careless words define what we are instead of defining it myself. Because I've been so careful, so cautious, so terrified of moving on from Caroline that I forgot how to fight for what matters. My hands falter on the keys, the melody stumbling. Don't stop on my account. I turn to find Hazel Elliott standing in the doorway, her coat dusted with snow, a basket in her hands. Hazel. I straighten on the bench. I didn't hear you come in. She sets the basket on a pew, candles, I notice, and moves closer. I've heard you play dozens of times in rehearsals, Julian. But that was different. Different how? You were feeling it. Really feeling it. She settles into the front pew. That's what she's done for you, isn't it? Reminded you that music is supposed to move you. I turn back to the piano, my hands resting on the closed lid. I've made a mess of things. Have you? Hazel's tone is mild. I have. And the last thing I wanted to do was hurt her. Lydia is the reason I can sit at this piano and play like this. She's the reason I can think about the future without it feeling empty. She's the reason I remembered what it feels like to be alive. Have you told her that? I tried. She won't let me close enough to say it. I press my palms against the piano lid. And maybe that's for the best. Maybe I don't deserve. Don't. Hazel's voice cuts sharp. Don't finish that sentence. I look at her, startled by the edge in her tone. You are going to say you don't deserve to be happy again, she continues, her expression softening. That moving forward means betraying Caroline's memory. Am I right? The words stick in my throat, but I nod. Julian. Hazel stands and moves closer, settling onto the piano bench beside me. I lost my husband a long time ago. Heart attack. One day he was fine, the next he was gone. And for years after, I felt guilty every time I laughed. Every time I enjoyed something. And I couldn't imagine letting anyone else into my heart like that. I look at her, surprised. She's never talked about this before. I thought moving forward meant leaving him behind. That if I stopped grieving, I'd be saying he didn't matter. That our love didn't matter. Her voice is gentle. But that's not how it works. Love doesn't diminish because you find it again. Your heart doesn't have a limit on how much it can hold. It feels like betrayal, I admit quietly. Every time I think about Lydia, every time I imagine a future with her. You feel like you're being unfaithful to Caroline. Hazel puts her hand over mine where it rests on the piano. I understand. But let me ask you this. What kind of person was your wife? What would she have wanted for you? I close my eyes, thinking of Caroline. Her brightness, her laughter, her fierce love for me and Ella. She'd want me to be happy. To keep living. To make sure Ella sees me choosing joy instead of just existing. Then honor that. Honor her by doing exactly what she'd want. Hazel squeezes my hand. Loving Lydia doesn't mean loving Caroline less, Julian. It means you love Caroline enough to remember what joy feels like. That's the greatest tribute you could give her memory. The tears come without warning, hot and sudden. What if I'm not ready? You just choose it anyway. Hazel stands, smoothing her coat. And the question isn't whether you're ready. It's whether you're brave enough to let yourself have this. To let yourself love again, even knowing what it costs to lose. The challenge in her words makes something click into place. Lydia has been brave for weeks. She stepped into directing despite her terror, opening her heart despite her fear. She kissed me first because I was taking too long. Maybe it's my turn to be brave. She collects her basket of candles and heads toward the altar, leaving me alone at the piano. I look down at the keys, thinking about silence and songs and the courage it takes to start singing again after you've lost your voice. Caroline will always be part of me. My first love. Ella's mother. The reason I understand what loss costs and why joy matters. But maybe Lydia is what comes next. If I'm brave enough to show up. Brave enough to tell her I love her. I close the piano lid and stand, my decision made.
Chapter 13. Lydia. The church is already filling when I arrive, though the concert doesn't start for another 30 minutes. Families claim their pews, children bundled in their Christmas best squirm with excitement, and the scent of pine and candlelight fills the air. It's everything I imagined when I first agreed to direct this choir. Except I can barely breathe through the anxiety. Grace meets me at the side entrance, taking my coat. He's here. At the piano. My heart does something complicated in my chest. Of course he is. Lydia. She catches my arm, her expression gentle. You can do this. The concert, and what comes after. What if he doesn't want to hear it? What if I ruined everything? Then at least you'll know you tried. She squeezes my hand. But I don't think you ruined anything. I think you're both just scared. I nod, not trusting my voice, and make my way down the side aisle toward the front of the church. Julian sits at the piano, reviewing sheet music with the focused attention I've come to recognize over the past month. He's wearing a dark suit that makes him look even more like he belongs in a concert hall instead of a small-town church, and when he glances up at my approach, my breath catches. Those blue-gray eyes that have watched me with patience and something warmer are carefully neutral now. Professional. Lydia. He stands. The piano sounds good. I checked it yesterday. Thank you. That was thoughtful. I set my folder on the music stand, trying to match his professional tone. The sanctuary looks beautiful. It does. We stand there in awkward silence, years of easy conversation between us collapsed into stilted small talk. This is what I've done. This careful distance, this painful politeness. I gesture vaguely toward the choir section. People are starting to arrive. Of course. I turn away before I can do something stupid like apologize right here, right now, in front of the gathering crowd. Before I can tell him that I'm sorry, that I miss him so much it physically hurts. Grace is right. After. I'll tell him everything after. If he'll listen. The choir gathers in the small room off the sanctuary that serves as our staging area. 23 people in their best clothes, faces bright with excitement and nerves. Mrs. Patterson fusses with her hair. Marcus Webb keeps clearing his throat. The elementary school teachers huddle together, practicing their harmonies one last time. They're ready. We're ready. I should feel proud. Triumphant, even. A month ago, I could barely stand in front of them without apologizing. Now I'm about to direct them through the most important concert of the year. But all I feel is the Julian-shaped absence at my side. All right, everyone. I force brightness into my voice. This is it. You've worked so hard, and you sound absolutely beautiful. Remember to breathe, watch for my cues, and most importantly, enjoy this. This is a gift we're giving the town. Let's make it count. You've been wonderful, Lydia, Mrs. Patterson says warmly. We're so grateful you stepped up. The others murmur agreement, and I feel tears prick my eyes. A month ago, I would have deflected the compliment. But Grace's words echo in my mind, you deserve this. Thank you, I say simply. Now let's go make some music. We file into the sanctuary, taking our positions in the choir loft. I move to the front, and from this vantage point I can see the entire church. Every pew is full. People stand along the walls. I spot Hazel in the third row, her silver hair perfectly coiffed, her expression satisfied. Belle and Dorian sit near the front, holding hands. Grace and Nathan are in the middle, Grace catching my eye and giving me an encouraging nod. And Ella sits in the second row, her face bright with anticipation. The lights dim slightly. The crowd settles into expectant silence. I turn toward the piano, and my eyes meet Julian's. For a moment, everything else falls away. The crowd, the nerves, the carefully maintained distance. It's just us, the way it's been for weeks during practice sessions and late-night rehearsals. Him at the piano, me about to direct, the music waiting to connect us. He nods once. Ready. I lift my hands, take a breath, and begin. The opening notes of "O Come, All Ye Faithful" fill the church, Julian's playing warm and sure. The choir comes in perfectly, their voices blending in a way that would have seemed impossible a month ago. We flow through the first verse, and I feel my shoulders relax slightly. We can do this. We are doing this. We move through Hark. The herald angels sing, then Joy to the World, each song better than the last. The crowd is with us, some humming along, many wiping away tears. This is what Christmas is supposed to feel like. Community and warmth and shared joy. But it's silent night that breaks something open in me. The choir's voices are soft, reverent, and Julian's accompaniment is so gentle it's almost a whisper. I conduct with my whole heart, thinking about everything this song means. The lullaby my grandmother sang. The carol that brought Julian and me together during our first successful practice session. The music that reminded us both that broken things can still make beautiful sounds. When we reach the final verse, I risk a glance at Julian. He's watching me instead of the music, his hands moving over the keys with the kind of certainty that comes from knowing a piece by heart. And in his expression, I see everything I've been afraid to hope for. Not anger or resentment, but something that looks like longing. Like he's been waiting for this as much as I have. The song ends, and for a moment the church is perfectly still. Then applause erupts, warm and genuine, and I blink back tears. We're not done yet. Oh Holy Night is last. Our most challenging arrangement. The one Julian and I worked on more than any other, adjusting dynamics and breathing and the delicate balance between piano and voice. I turn to the choir, hands raised, and nod to Julian. He plays the introduction, and the familiar melody fills the church. The choir comes in strong, confident, and we move through the first verse together. But as we approach the bridge, the moment where the soprano section has always struggled, I make a decision. I step forward and sing. Just me. Solo. My voice carrying the melody while the choir provides soft harmony behind me. Fall on your knees, oh hear the angel voices. It's the high school auditorium all over again, except this time I don't freeze. This time I remember what Julian told me weeks ago, you don't have to sing loudly to be heard. So I sing clearly, honestly, letting the music carry me instead of fighting against my fear. Julian's accompaniment swells beneath me, supporting without overwhelming, and I feel the exact moment when everything clicks into place. When the piano and voice and choir become one unified sound. This is what we've been building toward. Not perfection, but harmony. Real, honest, imperfect harmony. The final notes fade into silence, and for a heartbeat, no one moves. Then the church erupts. People rise to their feet, applause thundering through the sanctuary. I turn to see Ella beaming, her hands clasped together in delight. Grace is wiping her eyes. Even Hazel looks moved, though she's trying to hide it behind a satisfied smile. And Julian is standing at the piano, looking at me with an expression so full of pride and something deeper that my heart threatens to burst. I did it. We did it. The choir is laughing, hugging each other, and I turn to thank them, to tell them how wonderful they were. But my eyes keep drifting back to the piano, to Julian gathering his sheet music with careful precision. We need to talk. But first, I need to get through the crowd. People swarm forward, offering congratulations, hugging me, thanking me for directing. I smile and accept their kind words, but my attention is divided. Where did Julian go? I saw him at the piano a moment ago, but now. He stepped outside, Grace says quietly, appearing at my elbow. I saw him head out the side door. I need to talk to him. I know. Go. She squeezes my arm. We'll handle cleanup. You go find him. I make my way through the crowd, accepting quick hugs and thank yous, until I finally reach the side door. The cold December air hits me as I step outside, and I realize I left my coat inside. But I don't care. Because there, standing in the softly falling snow at the bottom of the church steps, is Julian. Waiting. My heart pounds as I descend the steps, snow dusting my hair and shoulders. He turns at the sound of my footsteps, and in the glow of the church's exterior lights, I can see his expression clearly. Not anger. Not resentment. Hope. Hi, I manage, my breath visible in the cold air. Hi. His voice is soft, rough with emotion. You were incredible in there. We stand there in the falling snow, and I realize this is it. This is the moment where everything either breaks or mends. Where I find the courage to tell him the truth, or lose him by staying silent.
Chapter 14. Julian. I've been standing in the snow for 5 minutes, trying to find the right words. After the concert ended, after Lydia's solo that made my chest feel too tight, after the standing ovation, after Ella's beaming face in the second row, I slipped outside because I needed air. Needed space to think about what I'm going to say when I finally get the chance. Except now she's here, descending the church steps without a coat, snow catching in her hair, and every carefully prepared sentence dissolves. Hi, she says, her breath visible in the cold air. Hi. My voice comes out rougher than I intended. You were incredible in there. We stand there in the falling snow, and I can see her gathering courage. See the exact moment she decides to speak. Julian, she starts, just as I say, Lydia, I need to. We both stop. Both wait. I've spent 2 years staying silent, letting grief make my decisions for me. But not tonight. Not anymore. Let me go first, I say. Please. She nods, wrapping her arms around herself against the cold. What you overheard the other day, what David said about amateur singers and getting back to basics, I take a step closer. I need you to know that's not how I see this. Not how I see you. Julian. Please. Let me finish. I run a hand through my hair, snow dusting my fingers. David doesn't know me. He has no idea what the past 2 years have been like. He thinks I'm here because it's easy or safe. But he's wrong. Lydia's eyes are bright with unshed tears. I'm here because of you, I continue, my voice steadying. The first time you directed that choir, you were terrified but you did it anyway. I've watched you. You apologized too much and doubted yourself constantly, but you kept showing up. Lydia, you reminded me that music isn't about perfection. It's about connection and joy. And about being brave enough to step up even when you're afraid. I wasn't brave, she whispers. I ran away. You were scared. I closed the remaining distance between us. And you weren't wrong to be hurt by what David said. His words were condescending, even if he didn't mean them that way. But Lydia, I reach up, cupping her face gently. You have to know that you were never a project. Never therapy. Never anything less than the reason I wanted to heal. A tear spills over, and I catch it with my thumb. I spent 2 years punishing myself for surviving Caroline's death, I say quietly. Convinced that moving forward meant betraying her memory. That the only way to honor what we had was to stop living myself. And then you walked into that first rehearsal, terrified and brave and so determined to help everyone else shine that you forgot you were allowed to shine too. Julian. I fell in love with you somewhere between that first disaster and the music box and the moment you kissed me first because I was taking too long. My voice catches. And I've been terrified ever since. Not because you're not enough, but because losing you feels like it would break me all over again. You're not going to lose me, she says, her hands coming up to cover mine where they rest against her face. I'm the one who ran. I'm the one who heard those words and let them confirm every fear I've ever had about not being good enough. You are enough. You're everything. Then why does it feel like I'm always waiting for someone to realize I'm not? The question breaks my heart. Because someone hurt you once, I say gently. Someone made you believe that being seen meant being judged. That standing in the spotlight meant risking humiliation. But that solo tonight? That wasn't you proving you're good enough. That was you remembering what you've always been. What's that? Brave. Beautiful. Worth hearing. I lean my forehead against hers. And I'm sorry I didn't tell you all of this sooner. Sorry I let you doubt for even a second that you matter to me. I'm sorry I ran instead of talking to you. Sorry I let fear make my decisions. We're both sorry. I pull back slightly to look at her. So let's stop apologizing and start over. Start over? No, that's not right. I shake my head. Not start over. Keep going. Keep playing. I take a breath, the words I've been carrying for days finally ready. Lydia Harper, I'm in love with you. Completely. Terrifyingly. And I know it's complicated. I come with a grieving past and a 13-year-old daughter and guilt about moving on. But I'm tired of letting fear make my choices. I'm tired of staying silent. Her smile breaks through the tears. I love you too. I've been in love with you for weeks, maybe from the moment you left that note in my folder. That was a good note. It was a perfect note. She laughs, the sound bright and free. And I'm terrified too. I'd never done this before. Want someone like this. I didn't believe I could be someone worth wanting. You are worth wanting. Worth loving. Worth everything. I brush snow from her hair. And we'll figure it out together. The fear, the complications, all of it. Together, she echoes, like she's testing the word. I like the sound of that. Me too. I lean down and kiss her, slow and sure and full of promise. She tastes like snow and hope, and when she sighs against my mouth, I feel it all the way to my bones. This isn't the desperate kiss from the community center, stolen between fear and courage. This is certainty. This is choosing each other with open eyes and open hearts. This is love. When we finally break apart, both of us breathing hard, I rest my forehead against hers. You're freezing, I say, noticing the way she's trembling. We should get you inside. In a minute. She holds me tighter. I just want to stay here for a moment. With you. So we stand in the falling snow, holding each other, and I think about Caroline. About how she'd be happy for me. Happy that I found my way back to music, back to joy, back to living instead of just surviving. Loving Lydia doesn't diminish what I had with Caroline. It honors it. Proves that love is worth the risk, even knowing what it costs to lose it. What are you thinking about? Lydia asks softly. That I'm grateful. For you. For this. For second chances. Me too. The church door opens, and Hazel appears at the top of the steps, a thermos in her hands and that knowing smile on her face. There you two are, she says, descending the steps with careful precision. I was bringing coffee to the volunteers still cleaning up, but it looks like you've found your own warmth. Hazel, I start, but she's already waving me off. Don't mind me. Just enjoying another Christmas miracle. She pauses beside us, her eyes twinkling. Though I will say, it's about time you both stopped being stubborn and admitted what everyone else has known for weeks. You were very patient with us, Lydia says. Oh, I wasn't patient. I was strategic. Hazel's smile is satisfied. But you figured it out eventually, and that's what matters. She continues toward the parish hall, leaving us standing in the snow. She's going to be insufferable about this, I say. Probably. Lydia shivers, and I pull her closer. We should go inside. We start back toward the church, my arm around her shoulders, hers around my waist. At the door, we're intercepted by Ella, who bursts out with barely contained excitement. Dad! Miss Harper! She stops, taking in our linked hands, our snow-dusted clothes, our matching smiles. Oh! Finally! Ella, give us a moment, I start. Can Miss Harper come over? Please? For hot chocolate? I want to hear about the concert and I've been waiting all week to talk to her and... I'd love to, Lydia says, squeezing my hand. If that's all right? More than all right, I tell her. Ella beams and disappears back into the church, probably to tell Grace and anyone else who'll listen that her matchmaking worked. Your daughter is very enthusiastic, Lydia says. She's been conspiring with Grace for weeks. This is her victory lap. We step back into the warmth of the church, where people are still milling about, savoring the afterglow of the concert. Grace appears with Lydia's coat, her smile saying she knows exactly what just happened. The choir members surround us with congratulations and questions about next year, and through it all, Lydia's hand stays in mine. So are you going to keep directing next year? Ella asks, later that night when the three of us are settled with large mugs of hot chocolate in my living room. Because you were amazing, and everyone loved you, and you should definitely keep doing it. Lydia glances at me, a question in her eyes. I think she should, I say. If she wants to. And if she can find an accompanist. I might know someone, Lydia says, her smile soft. Though he comes with some complications. Such as a teenage daughter who's far too perceptive and a tendency to be too hard on himself. Sounds like you've got your hands full. I think I can manage. She leans into my touch. Besides, I come with my own complications. Stage fright. Overthinking everything. A habit of running when things get scary. Good thing I'm patient, I tell her. Good thing I'm learning to be brave. Ella watches us with obvious satisfaction, and I realize this is what I've been missing for 2 years. Not just romance or companionship, but this. The feeling of a family being knit together. Of Ella seeing me happy, seeing me choosing to live fully instead of just survive. Dad? Ella's voice is quiet. I'm really glad you found Miss Harper. The simple statement makes my throat tight. Me too, sweetheart. Mom would be happy, you know. That you're happy again. Lydia's hand finds mine, squeezing gently, and I look at my daughter. When did she become this wise, wonderful person who's been watching me carefully for 2 years, waiting for me to find my way back to joy? I think you're right, I say. I think she would be. We sit there together, the three of us, and talk about the concert, about the choir, about plans for next year. Ella eventually yawns and declares she's going to bed, giving Lydia a quick hug before heading upstairs. She really does like you, I say once we're alone. I really like her too. Lydia shifts closer, fitting herself against my side. This is nice. Being here. With you both. You're welcome anytime. Always. Always is a big word. I know. I press a kiss to her temple. But I mean it. Whatever this is, whatever we're becoming, I'm in it. Completely. She kisses me then, soft and sweet, and I think about all the ways my life has changed in the past month. How I went from avoiding music to playing it with joy. How I went from keeping everyone at a careful distance to letting Lydia in. How I went from surviving to actually living. All because of the gentle librarian who was brave enough to direct a choir despite her fear. Who was brave enough to kiss me first. Who was brave enough to love me, complications and all. When we finally part, Lydia rests her head on my shoulder, and we sit in comfortable silence, watching snow fall outside the window. Merry Christmas, Julian, she says softly. Merry Christmas, Lydia. And for the first time in 2 years, the words don't feel hollow. They feel full of promise. Full of hope. Full of the certainty that some songs end, but new ones can still begin. This is our new song. Lydia's and mine. And we're just getting started. Epilogue. Julian. Juniper Falls, 1 year later. The church is packed again. But this time, when I look at Lydia standing at the front of the sanctuary, directing the Juniper Falls Christmas choir through O Come, All Ye Faithful, she's not trembling. She's radiant. Dad, you're supposed to be playing, not staring, Ella whispers from beside me, her violin resting on her shoulder. Right. The piano. I return my attention to the keys, accompanying Lydia through the arrangement we spent weeks perfecting together. The two of us have been working side by side at this same piano, debating dynamics and breathing and the delicate balance between voice and accompaniment. Co-directors, the flyer said. Though really, Lydia does most of the directing. I just make sure the musical foundation is solid and occasionally talk her down when she starts overthinking. We're partners. In every sense that matters. The past year has been extraordinary. After that first Christmas Eve, Lydia and I fell into an easy rhythm. Dinners at my house with Ella, quiet evenings at her apartment surrounded by books, stolen moments at the library after hours. She kept her position as assistant librarian. I kept teaching at the high school. And together, we decided to co-direct the choir again. Hazel was insufferably smug about the whole thing. Now, watching Lydia direct Silent Night with quiet confidence, I can barely remember the nervous woman who stumbled through that first rehearsal a year ago. She's found her voice. Found her strength. Found herself. And somehow, impossibly, she chose me too. The concert flows beautifully. The choir has grown. We've added 5 new members this year, including 2 teenagers Ella recruited from the high school. When we reach O Holy Night, Lydia steps forward for the solo again, and her voice fills the church, clear and sure. Ella joins in with her violin during the bridge, and I watch my daughter and the woman I love make music together, and my heart feels so full it might burst. This is family. This is home. After the final notes of Joy to the World fade, the audience rises in a standing ovation. Lydia turns to the choir with genuine pride, thanking them, and then turns to me. Our eyes meet across the sanctuary, and she smiles. I adore the soft, private smile that's just for me. I love you, I mouth. I know, she mouths back, her smile widening. The crowd filters forward with congratulations, just like last year. But this time, there's no awkward distance between Lydia and me. We accept the praise together, my hand resting on the small of her back, her fingers occasionally brushing mine. Grace and Nathan hug us both. Belle and Dorian congratulate us on another beautiful concert. Hazel appears with her ever-present knowing smile and a thermos of cocoa. Even better than last year, she declares. Though that's hardly surprising, given you two finally figured out how to work together. We figured that out last year, Lydia protests. Did you? I seem to recall a certain amount of stubbornness and avoidance. That was different, I say. That was before. Before you both stopped standing in your own way? Hazel's eyes twinkle. Yes, I suppose it was. She moves on to congratulate the choir, and Lydia leans into me, laughing softly. She's never going to let us forget it, she says. Probably not. I press a kiss to her temple. Want to step outside? Get some air? She looks up at me, recognition flickering across her face. Like last year? Exactly like last year. Okay. Her smile is curious now. Let me grab my coat this time. Ella appears at my elbow as Lydia heads toward the coat room, her expression barely containing excitement. Are you really doing it? Now. I pull the small velvet box from my jacket pocket, showing her quickly before tucking it away again. It's perfect, Dad. She throws her arms around me. I'm so happy. Thank you, sweetheart. For everything. Just don't mess it up. She grins. I've gotten really attached to Miss Harper. I'd hate to have to find you a new girlfriend. I'll do my best. Lydia returns with her coat, and I take her hand, leading her through the lingering crowd toward the side door. Grace catches my eye and winks. Hazel pretends not to notice, but I see her watching with that satisfied smile. They all know. Of course they know. I asked for Grace's blessing 2 weeks ago, and keeping secrets from Hazel is impossible. The December air is cold and crisp, snow falling softly just like it did a year ago. Lydia descends the church steps beside me, and at the bottom, I turn to face her. This feels familiar, she says, her breath visible in the cold. I take both her hands in mine. A year ago, we stood right here. And you told me you loved me. I remember. Her eyes are bright. You told me I was brave and that I was more than enough. I meant every word. I squeeze her hands gently. This past year with you has been the best year of my life. Watching you direct the choir with confidence. Coming home to you and Ella at the dinner table, arguing about which movie to watch. Waking up knowing I get to see you, talk to you, make music with you. Julian. Let me finish. I take a breath, the words I've been practicing for weeks suddenly feeling inadequate. You reminded me what it means to be alive. To make music not because it's perfect, but because it's real. To love without holding back. To choose joy even when it's scary. Tears are already gathering in our eyes. I don't want to do life without you anymore, I continue. I don't want to direct choirs or play piano or come home to a house that doesn't have you in it. I want this, us, forever. I want to keep finding harmony with you for the rest of our lives. I release one of her hands and reach into my pocket, pulling out the velvet box. Her breath catches as I open it, revealing the ring I spent weeks choosing, a simple diamond on a white gold band, elegant and understated. Just like her. Lydia Harper, will you marry me? For a moment, she just stares at the ring, tears streaming down her face. Then she laughs so bright and full of joy it takes my breath away. Yes, she says, pulling me close. Yes, of course, Yes. I slip the ring onto her finger with trembling hands, and then she's kissing me, and I'm kissing her back, and somewhere behind us I hear applause. We break apart to find half the church gathered at the windows and door, watching. Ella stands at the front, beaming. Grace is wiping her eyes. Even Hazel looks misty. Did you know they were all watching? Lydia asks, laughing through tears. I suspected. I pull her close. Do you mind? Not even a little. She holds up her hand, admiring the ring. It's beautiful, Julian. You're beautiful. She kisses me again, and this time I don't care who's watching. This is joy. This is choosing each other, publicly and proudly and without reservation. This is the rest of our lives beginning. The church doors open and people spill out. Ella is first, launching herself at both of us in a hug that nearly knocks us over. Grace and Nathan follow, offering congratulations. The whole choir gathers around, and someone starts singing Joy to the World, and soon everyone joins in. We stand in the falling snow, surrounded by community and love and music, and I think about how far we've both come. From that first disastrous rehearsal to this moment. From broken and silent to whole and singing. Happy? I ask Lydia, pulling her close. So happy. She rests her head against my shoulder. Though I should probably warn you. I'm going to be an anxious bride. I'll overthink everything. The flowers, the music, the seating arrangements. I'll help you with all of it. And I'll probably cry during our vows. I'm counting on it. She again laughs, and the sound fills all the empty spaces inside me that I thought would stay hollow forever. Later, after the crowd disperses and we're driving home, I think about Caroline. About how she'd be happy for me. For us. For Ella, who's finally seeing her father truly alive again. Loving Lydia doesn't diminish what Caroline and I had. It honors it. Proves that love is worth the risk, even knowing what it costs to lose it. What are you thinking about? Lydia asks softly. That I'm grateful. For second chances. For you. For this. Me too. She squeezes my hand. Though I'm also thinking we should probably start planning the wedding soon. Hazel's going to have opinions. Hazel has opinions about everything. True. But she was right about us. She was. I bring her hand to my lips, kissing her knuckles just above the ring. She told me once that some duets can't finish if one person stops singing. She told me the same thing. Lydia's smile is soft. Good thing we kept singing. Good thing. At home, we make hot chocolate and sit around the kitchen table while Ella shows us pictures of wedding dresses she's already been looking at online. Lydia laughs at Ella's enthusiasm and promises to take her dress shopping. I watch them together, my daughter and my fiancé, and feel the last piece of my heart click into place. This is my family. This is my future. This is the song Caroline and I started, and the new melody Lydia and I are writing together. And it's beautiful. Later, after Ella's gone to bed, Lydia and I sit at the piano. Play something, she says, settling beside me on the bench. What do you want to hear? Anything. Everything. She leans her head on my shoulder. Just play. So I do. I play O Holy Night, our song. The one that brought us together, the one that reminds me that broken things can still make beautiful sounds. And halfway through, Lydia starts to sing. Soft and sure, her voice blending with the piano like they were always meant to go together. Like we were always meant to go together. When the song ends, we sit in the quiet of the house, snow falling outside the window, and I realize this is what happiness feels like. Not the absence of grief or fear, but the presence of love. The courage to keep singing even when you're scared. The faith that harmony is possible, even after discord. I love you, I tell her. I love you too. She turns my face toward hers and kisses me gently. Thank you for asking me to marry you. Thank you for saying yes. Always. Her smile is radiant. I'll always say yes to you. And sitting there at the piano with Lydia in my arms and our whole future stretching out before us, I finally understand what it means to be whole. Every love story has its own melody. This one just needed Christmas to find its key. And now that we have, we're never letting go.
The end. This has been The Christmas Carol. Written by Susanne Ash. Copyright 2025 by Susanne Ash. Production copyright 2025 by Susanne Ash. Thanks for listening. Please like and subscribe if you want me to put more of my books on YouTube. Visit my website at www.susanneash.com for more of my books or find me on Amazon.